Chapter 2772. What a big scene. At this moment, Xia Ping, who was hiding in the forbidden abyss, could also sense what was happening outside through the power of his divine sense. He could see what was happening at the southern heavenly gate. Of course, he was not very clear about the specific details, but it was enough to know the general situation. Obviously, the invincible sages of the various races had joined forces and made this plan today. They launched an attack on the Abyss World, and, at the same time, they caught the Abyss World off guard. At this moment, the sky above the Abyss continent was filled with invincible sages, and they were fighting to the death with each other. Right? I wonder if this demon lord will make a move? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and stared at the old man under the mysterious tree in front of him. To be honest, if the old man did not leave this place, it would be difficult for him to snatch the remaining divine artifact fragment. However, even though such a big thing had happened, the mysterious old man was still sitting cross-legged on the tree, resting with his eyes closed, as if he did not care about what had just happened at all. Whoosh! At this moment, there was a ripple in the void, as if a void door had opened. Immediately, a figure walked out of the void door and came directly in front of the mysterious old man. What? It's Master. Xiaoping's pupils contracted. He could see that the figure that suddenly appeared in the forbidden abyss was Dark North Saint. He seemed to be very familiar with the way and directly came to the forbidden abyss. Immediately, he was very excited, and he restrained his aura and fluctuations even more, lest his master and the mysterious old man notice. Dark North Saint appeared in front of the old man. He frowned and looked at the black tree in front of him, clearly showing some fear. However, he quickly restrained his emotions, looked at the old man, and said, "Master." Boom! With just these two words, the black-robed old man, who had been resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. His aura immediately changed dramatically, as if the entire Abyss continent was violently shaken. His eyes were empty, without eyeballs, and his whole body was black like a black hole. No light could be reflected from his eyes, as if they were a devil's nest that devoured endless darkness. Just a glance would make one feel as if their soul was being devoured. It was extremely terrifying. "Master, it's been a long time." The black-robed elder spoke. His voice was hoarse, as if he hadn't spoken for a very long time. Every word he spoke contained an extraordinary demonic nature, like a golden rule. If it was a life form with a weak will, just hearing these words would cause their soul to completely collapse, and they would enter a state of madness. Their entire body would degenerate into an abyssal demonic creature. It really is Patriarch Qinquan. Xiaoping, who was hiding on the side, was shocked. Although he had guessed it before, it was only after hearing his master say these words that he confirmed his guess. The mysterious old man in front of him was the founder of the Universe sect who had been missing for a long time, Universe Ancestor. However, why did this Universe Ancestor appear in the Abyss World? What exactly happened? At this moment, he was simply full of doubts. Oh, it's Biming. Patriarch Qinquan opened his eyes and looked at Dark North Saint. A hint of emotion appeared in his cold voice. "It's been a long time. I didn't expect you to have grown to such a level. You even have the ability to talk to me?" He looked at Dark North Saint indifferently. "Master, I'm here to take you back. It's time." Dark North Saint cupped his hands. "Take me back." Hearing this, Patriarch Qinquan chuckled. "After waiting for so long, the human race finally remembered me? Unfortunately, it's too late. I can't go back. I know you have resentment in your heart. Back then, the human race sent you into the Abyss World as a spy to find out the true secrets of the Abyss World and avoid the next Abyss War. During this period, the human race didn't give you much help. I'm afraid you've suffered a lot during this period." Dark North Saint raised his head and looked at Patriarch Qinquan. "What?" Xiaoping was shocked when he heard these words. Although he knew that there must be a big secret, he didn't expect such a secret to be so shocking. Patriarch Qinquan was actually a spy sent by the human race into the Abyss World. However, thinking about it carefully was normal. The demons of the Abyss World could lurk in a modern universe as spies, So the human race could naturally send people to the abyss world as spies to find out all the secrets and monitor every move of the abyss. The problem was that the abyss world was not suitable for the human race to live in for a long time. He didn't know how Patriarch Qianquan was able to do this and hide from the demons of the abyss. After all, not everyone was like him, who had the bloodline of the demon god and was immune to the erosion of the abyss devil chi. Yes, I entered the abyss world because of the human race's arrangement. They wanted me to step into the abyss world as a spy. The reason why they asked me to be a spy was because I have the bloodline of a half-human and half-demon, so I'm immune to the erosion of the abyss devil chi. Therefore, I became the best candidate to go undercover in the abyss world. Patriarch Qianquan said lightly, revealing an earth-shattering secret. Half-human and half-demon bloodline. So that was it. Hearing this, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He didn't expect Patriarch Qianquan to have such a background. However, if he had the bloodline of a half-human and half-demon, it was indeed possible to resist the erosion of the abyss devil chi. After all, Patriarch Qianquan originally had a bloodline from the demons of the abyss. The problem was that it was almost impossible for a human to have children with demons of the abyss. After all, they were two different species, just like pigs and dogs. It was impossible for them to have children. However, this problem was not absolute. If both the man and the woman reached the sage realm, they could easily change the genetic structure in their bodies. With the help of cosmic wonders, they might be able to have children. In any case, the birth of a half-human and half-demon bloodline must be an extremely difficult thing. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was a miracle. Life with such a bloodline was probably very rare in the entire universe. If it was really common, it would have been everywhere on the streets. But until now, Xiaoping had rarely heard of it, almost unheard of it. Obviously, such a bloodline was extremely secret even among the higher-ups of the human race. It would not be known by ordinary sages, nor would it be easily spread out. Sogu Reading Website. Chapter 2773. Hearing Ancestor Qianquan's narration, Dark North Saint did not speak. In fact, before coming to the Abyss world, he had already heard the news from the human ancestor and knew the ins and outs. Although I know that this is a very dangerous job and may not be rewarding, I still agreed because this is for the future of the human race. I have no regrets. Ancestor Qianquan said. Later, I entered the abyss and experienced countless hardships. I climbed up step by step, inquired about countless secrets of the abyss world, and passed them back. Originally, I thought that the task was almost completed. Unfortunately, tens of thousands of years have passed, millions of years have passed, billions of years have passed, countless years have passed, and all the information passed back has disappeared. I have become the demon lord of the abyss world, but you still haven't closed the net. He looked at Dark North Saint indifferently. Xiaoping next to him. To be honest, he somewhat understood Ancestor Qianquan. As a spy of the human race, he worked hard to be a spy in the abyss world in order to complete the task. Unfortunately, the harder he worked, the more he found that he couldn't get away. He was too capable and subdued countless demons, and a group of abyss kings submitted to him. In order to save his life in the abyss world, Ancestor Qianquan naturally used all his skills and went through a narrow escape. Unexpectedly, in the end, he became the boss of the abyss world, and the task was not over yet. He was the only one who could be a spy at his level. At this time, Ancestor Qianquan probably gave up returning to the human world and being a human. So now we are here, Dark North Saint said in a deep voice, looking at his master, Ancestor Qianquan. So it's too late. Ancestor Qianquan looked at Dark North Saint and sighed. There is no way for me to turn back now. You were my disciple back then, and I will not kill you for the sake of the relationship between us. Now go. If you leave now, you still have a chance to survive. If you wait for me to take action, none of you will be able to leave the abyss world alive. A faint killing intent exuded from his body, almost pervading the abyss void in all directions, penetrating every corner of the void. It was simply terrifying. Even Xiaoping, who was hiding in the depths of the void, could feel the terrifying killing intent from Ancestor Chinquin. It seemed to contain a trace of divinity and supreme power. Master, are you not Ancestor Chinquin anymore? Could it be that your mind has already been eroded by this abyssal demonic tree, and you've been possessed by it? Dark North Saint narrowed his eyes and stared at Patriarch Chinquin, as if trying to figure out the secret of his power. At the same time, he looked fearfully at the mysterious abyss tree behind him. In reality, this tree that was born in the deepest part of the abyss was the greatest secret of the abyss world. It was also the enemy that countless races and worlds feared the most. It was a tree that could destroy worlds. In the primordial age, this tree had appeared once and killed a large number of invincible sages. But at that time, the abyssal demonic tree was only in its infancy, and its power had not grown to its peak state. But now it was different. It had completely reached the mature stage. This was a demonic tree that was born from the will of the abyss. It was terrifying beyond compare. It had absorbed the power of 18 god corpses to grow, and it had also received the power of the abyss. It could be said to be the ultimate weapon of the abyss. In the primordial era, one of the reasons why all the races in the universe couldn't exterminate the abyss fiendish demons was because of the abyssal demon tree. The myriad races had sent spies into the abyss world to investigate the secrets of the abyssal demonic tree, to find a way to deal with it, and to find its weakness. Unfortunately, no one knew the true secret of the abyssal demonic tree. However, this secret was finally discovered by the human race not long ago, and it immediately alarmed all the races in the world. The abyssal demon tree was a demon seed, the ultimate weapon of the abyss. The abyss world's invasion of the modern universe was completely different from before. If it was the primordial era, then it would be countless demons swarming out of the abyss world and waging a great war with all the races in the universe. They fought to the death, causing countless planets and continents to crumble and blood to flow like rivers. If that was all, the myriad of races were still confident. After all, such a long time had passed, and their battle prowess was different from the past. They were more than 10 times stronger than they were in the primordial era. Even if they encountered an invasion from the abyss demons, they would be able to cripple them. However, it was different now. The real plan of the abyss demons was to activate the abyssal demonic tree and use it as the core, as a demon seed, to invade the entire modern universe. With the abyssal demonic tree as a stronghold, its roots, leaves, and trunk would erode that place into the abyss world and completely transform it. If the abyssal demonic tree grew to the size of the universe, its roots would extend to every corner of the modern universe. At that time, the entire modern universe will be transformed into a second abyss world, filled with terrifying abyssal demon chi. This plan was simply a plan to exterminate all races. Once the abyssal demon's plan succeeded, all the races in the universe would die because it was impossible for them to live in an environment like the abyss world. Therefore, no matter what, they had to destroy this plan and destroy the abyssal demonic tree. This was a plan that was many times more vicious than the invasion of the primordial era. Dark North, you're wrong. I'm both the demon lord and the ancestor of heaven and earth. The two have long merged into one. I'm in you, and you're in me, the ancestor of heaven and earth said calmly. Fine, fine. Since you don't want to leave, I'll personally send you on your way. Anyway, all the races in the universe will die sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. Boom. At this moment, Patriarch Chinquin stood up from the ground. The world shook, the sun and the moon dimmed, and countless abyssal laws trembled. The entire abyssal continent rumbled, and everything shook. Crack, crack, the abyssal demonic tree behind the ancestor of heaven and earth shook even more, surging with endless abyssal demon chi. It seemed as if there were billions of resentful spirits and demons roaring inside the trunk. The terrible abyssal demon chi spread out and eroded the void in all directions. Vaguely, dense chains of abyssal laws appeared on the ancestor of heaven and earth. The abyssal demon chi condensed into many abyssal laws and penetrated the space-time. Master, I'd like to test your abilities again. Dark North Saint stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He was still as unmoved as a mountain. Oh, it seems that after not seeing you for a long time, you dare to say such words to me. Then let me see what you're capable of. The ancestor of heaven and earth looked at Dark North Saint calmly. He punched through the void, and the void around him was instantly blasted apart. Sogu website. Chapter 2774. Meanwhile, in another place near the southern heavenly gate, the invincible saints of all the races and the Abyss Kings were locked in battle, and both sides were locked in a fierce battle. Spatial cracks and explosions were everywhere. The entire abyssal continent was in a mess with smoke everywhere. Are you sure you want Dark North to face the Demon Lord alone? Although the Demon Lord used to be the Heaven and Earth Patriarch, his body merged with the abyssal demonic tree long ago. I'm afraid that he's fallen into the abyss and can't turn back. Empyrean Patriarch sent a voice transmission through divine sense, expressing his concern. If Dark North Saint died in the hands of the Demon Lord, it would be a heavy blow to the human clan. He had to worry about it. It's okay. Even though the Demon Lord isn't a human anymore, Dark North has no need to fear the Demon Lord with his strength. At least, he won't die in the Demon Lord's hands, Xiaoyao Patriarch said with a faint smile. What do you mean? The Demon Lord isn't a simple figure. I'm afraid that the Demon Lord is the being closest to the gods in the entire universe. If not for the restriction of the laws of the universe, he would have become a god long ago. Dark North has just reached the demigod realm. How can he not fear the Demon Lord? Empyrean Patriarch frowned. You don't know this, Xiaoyao Patriarch said faintly. Dark North received the inheritance of a powerful god and inherited the god's power, unyielding. This power is extremely powerful. During the battle, no matter how strong the enemy is, he won't die. No matter how severe the wound is, he will recover instantly. That's why Dark North can't die. Power, unyielding? F*CK. Isn't it invincible? Who can kill him? Even though Empyrean Patriarch was experienced and knowledgeable, he couldn't help but curse out loud. He was dumbfounded. No. This power isn't invincible. The Xiaoyao Ancestral Master shook his head and said, although the wounds keep healing during the battle, they are hidden and will erupt instantly after the battle. If the wounds are too serious, they will sleep until the end of the world. Moreover, if he were to face a stronger opponent, he would only barely be able to guarantee that he wouldn't die. He would still be suppressed and unable to fight back. If the opponent is proficient in sealing spells, he can probably seal Dark North completely. This power has a big limitation and weakness. Bullshit. Hearing that, Patriarch Kong Kong could not help but roll his eyes. You're really trying to take advantage of me. You're already very strong, all right? In a battle against someone of the same level, you're practically invincible. Who would be foolish enough to fight against an enemy who is many times stronger than them? Furthermore, what sealing technique? As long as he was careful, wouldn't he be able to avoid it? This isn't a weakness at all. It's just a method to deal with the enemy. Haha. In short, Biming will be fine. Don't worry about that. The Xiaoyao Ancestral Master smiled. With this kind of ability, it's no wonder you agreed to let Dark North take action personally. Hearing this, Patriarch Empyrean finally understood Patriarch Xiaoyao's decision. Originally, he didn't agree with this plan. After all, it was too risky and might cause the death of an unrivaled human saint. To be honest, which peak race would be willing to let their race's invincible combat power fall in the abyss? There was absolutely no benefit to it. However, if Dark North had such an ability, then it would be a different story. In any case, we will complete our mission, and Dark North will complete her own. That is enough, the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master said in a deep voice. It's just a piece of cake. These Abyss Kings won't be able to take one step out of here. The Demon Master won't send any reinforcements. A cold light flashed in Patriarch Empyrean's eyes. On the other hand, in the Abyss Forbidden Place, bang, bang. In an instant, Dark North Saint and Ancestor of Heaven and Earth began to fight. Their speed was so fast that even divine senses could not detect the speed of their fight. With their bodies as the center, the space and time within tens of millions of kilometers seemed to be twisted, and everything seemed to be in a state of stillness. Although only 1 second had passed in the outside world, thousands of years had passed in the battle area. Almost in an instant, no one knew how many moves they had exchanged. This was a battle between two laws, which had almost reached the limit of a saint. Vaguely, it seemed that two sectors were colliding. Every time they collided, horrifying destructive power burst out and roared, tearing the void apart. Awesome. Xiaoping, who was hiding in the dark, widened his eyes and couldn't help but exclaim. He had thought that his master, Dark North Saint, who had just entered the invincible realm not long ago, should be weaker than these veteran invincible saints. However, he didn't expect that Dark North Saint's strength was far beyond his imagination. He wasn't much weaker than many veteran invincible saints, and his understanding of the laws was even higher. Even though Dark North Saint didn't have enough experience during the battle, with his super talent, he digested and absorbed the laws in a short time, and seemed to be improving at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom! In the blink of an eye, they collided again. Then, they separated again and faced each other from a distance. At that moment, Patriarch Chinkin narrowed his eyes and stared at Dark North Saint. Interesting. It's only been a while, but your cultivation base has improved to such an extent. If I'm not mistaken, you're probably the only monstrous genius in the entire human race. Dark North Saint, Dark North Saint. Far from it. There are many people in the human clan who are more powerful than me. Dark North Saint said lightly. Ha! Patriarch Qianquan didn't deny it. Your speed of progress is very unusual. Did you get the inheritance of a god? He looked at Dark North Saint and said tentatively, Let's fight and you'll know. Dark North Saint was unmoved. Humph, this is not the place to fight. Come with me to another place. With a boom, Patriarch Qianquan waved his hand and immediately moved the stars and reversed the universe. The void was shrouded, and in an instant, he and Dark North Saint were moved to another place to fight. Obviously, he also knew that if he really fought seriously, the forbidden area of the abyss would be destroyed, and it might hurt the body of the abyssal demon tree. The loss outweighed the gain. Most importantly, he couldn't wake up the ghosts in the forbidden area of the abyss. Otherwise, he would touch the taboo in the forbidden area, which was many times more serious than the attack of all the clans in the world. Boom! The next second, Patriarch Qianquan and Dark North Saint disappeared from this place. Are they gone? Xiaoping, who was hiding nearby, sensed the surroundings and found that Patriarch Qianquan and Dark North Saint had teleported to somewhere far away. It seemed that they were at the end of the distant space and time. In short, the battlefield between the two sides had long been far away from the forbidden area of the abyss. Even with the power of his divine consciousness, there was no way for him to know where the two had gone. Soga website. Chapter 2775. Are they really gone? Xiaoping blinked. He scanned the area with his divine sense dozens of times, but he still couldn't sense Ancestor of Heaven and North Sea Saint's aura. There was only the abyssal demon tree and the sacred corpses in the forbidden area. Apart from that, there was nothing else. This is a good opportunity. Xiaoping touched his chin. After Ancestor of Heaven and Earth disappeared, wouldn't this place be free for him to go? Moreover, this was where the Demon Lord was. Who knew how many good things were left here? The abyssal demon tree seemed to be very terrifying, emitting a terrible aura. However, according to his perception, the abyssal demon tree actually had no intelligence. Its brain should be the Demon Lord. Unfortunately, the Demon Lord had already left this place. It was estimated that the Demon Lord would not be able to return in a short time. Of course, he still had to be careful. If the movement was too big, perhaps the Demon Lord would give up a certain degree of sacrifice in return. Let's try to see if I can get the divine artifact fragment first. Thinking of this, Xiaoping's heart moved, and he immediately took action. Whoosh! In an instant, his Kuanping doppelganger merged into the void and quickly approached the abyssal demon tree without a sound. The abyssal demon tree still didn't seem to notice it. Dong! In the next second, Xiaoping grabbed the god artifact fragment with lightning speed and placed it into his space ring. He did not cause any disturbances at all. It seemed that the divine artifact fragment was nothing to the abyssal demon tree. It was just an ordinary stone. It didn't seem to care about it at all. By the way, I wonder if the sacred corpses can be taken away? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He could feel that the 18 sacred corpses contained a huge amount of energy. Even if the world tree had swallowed countless corpses before, it could not compare to the energy of one of the sacred corpses. After all, it was not only the difference in energy, but also the difference in quality. A wisp of divine power was much more powerful than magic power. The two were not on the same level. If the world tree could swallow the power of the 18 sacred corpses, he didn't know to what extent it would evolve. Maybe it would really become the first god in the universe. Thinking of this, he gently reached out and tried to take away one of the sacred corpses. Boom! However, as soon as Xiaoping's hand approached, he instantly sensed an extremely dangerous aura, as though the abyssal demonic tree was about to wake up. A tyrannical and terrifying abyssal power filled the vicinity of the god's corpse. Numerous restrictive arrays were set up in all directions, as if they were the restrictions of the gods. Even with the Kunpeng's abilities, it wasn't that easy to invade. Of course, if one wanted to obtain the god's corpse, they would not only have to pass through the restrictive barrier. More importantly, the abyssal demonic tree's roots had already permeated every god's corpse. It was as if these roots had replaced the blood vessels of the god corpse and become a part of it. If he wanted to take away the sacred remains, he would probably have to alarm the abyssal demonic tree and cut off its roots. This would probably instantly enrage the demon master, and unpredictable danger would occur. Looks like there's no way to take away the sacred remains. Xiaoping felt that it was a pity. He weighed the pros and cons. Although the immortal's corpse was very precious, it was not worth the risk. If he could advance to the demigod realm, he would not have to worry about the demon lord's revenge. But it was a pity that he was only at the immemorial ancient full cultivation state right now, and had yet to reach the point where he was invincible under the heavens. Therefore, he still had to be more cautious. At the same time, in the cave where Xiaoping's main body was located in the outer area of the Abyss Forbidden Area. Suddenly, Xiaoping's heart shook. The tree of world in the depths of his sea of consciousness trembled slightly, and a huge stream of information was instantly transmitted to his soul. After a while, the information stopped. The tree of world also sensed the existence of the abyssal demonic tree through the power of the Kunpeng's clone, so it contacted Xiaoping. I see. You want to get the power of the god's corpse, and even want to swallow the abyssal demonic tree? Xiaoping squinted his eyes. He did not expect the tree of world to be so bold. Although the tree of world was the origin of all wood and could be called the ancestor of plants, the abyssal demonic tree was not simple. It was the ultimate weapon of the abyss, and it had integrated 18 gods' corpse and the power of many abyssal laws. It could be said that the abyssal demonic tree was not as simple as a plant. It was a terrifying abyssal monster, just that it was in the form of a tree. If the tree of world was at its peak, it would probably have no problem swallowing the abyssal demonic tree. However, if the tree of world wanted to swallow the abyssal demonic tree now, it would be like a snake swallowing an elephant. It was almost impossible. Buzz, the tree of world shook and flashed with a faint emerald green light. It seemed like an emerald green seed had emerged from the depths of its body. It contained rich world origin energy and a huge power of laws. This is your seed, the seed of the tree of world. Xiaoping squinted his eyes. He found that the emerald green seed had fallen into his hands. This seed contained a considerable part of the tree of world's origin energy. In order to condense this seed, the tree of world seemed to have consumed a lot of origin energy. At the moment, the tree of world was unprecedentedly weak. Obviously, it was not easy to condense such a seed. It needed to pay a huge price. Buzz, the tree of world, shook again and transmitted a message into Xiaoping's sea of consciousness. I see. This is the parasitic seed of the tree of world. It is equivalent to your clone. If this parasitic seed is integrated into the abyssal demonic tree's body it can silently parasitize the abyssal demonic tree and take the opportunity to swallow the abyssal demonic tree's power. Sensing this message, Xia Ping's eyes suddenly lit up. If this could really be done, the abyssal demonic tree would definitely die. It would definitely become the tree of world's food and a part of its energy. But are you sure this is reliable? It won't be discovered by the abyssal demonic tree, right? Xia Ping asked cautiously. Buzz, the tree of worlds shook again. Its branches swayed confidently, indicating that this parasitic seed was where its origin was. Once it was integrated into the abyssal demonic tree, it would definitely not be discovered. Even the gods would not be able to discover it. That's good. Let's go and give it a try. Xia Ping touched his chin. Anyway, it was just a try. Even if it failed, it would not be a big problem. Whoosh. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate and immediately sent his second clone, the Tree of World clone. He took the parasitic seed and entered the inner area of the Forbidden Abyss. Chapter 2776. It didn't take long for Xia Ping's World Tree clone to enter the forbidden area of the abyss. Because he had been here once before, he was already familiar with driving. He knew which place was dangerous and which was not. Even if he encountered some danger, the World Tree clone could easily resist it with its own power. It couldn't do anything to this clone. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the World Tree clone arrived in front of the Kuan Peng clone. The two clones looked at each other. Fused. In an instant, the World Tree clone and the Kuan Peng clone fused together. This was one of the abilities of the clone after it advanced. When the two fused, they would have each other's magic power and power. Their power would also increase by 30%. If the 9 clones fused, their power would increase at a geometric speed. It wasn't as simple as 1 plus 1. This was also the power of this clone technique. Then let's see if this parasitic seed has any effect. Xia Ping touched his chin and took out the parasitic seed that the World Tree had given him. It was an emerald green seed that seemed to contain the infinite mystery and power of the World Tree. Vaguely, the emerald green seed emitted waves of power of the origin law. It seemed to resonate with the void law. It was filled with an unfathomable aura. It seemed that even if the original World Tree died, this seed could grow a second World Tree. Whoosh! He waved his hand and threw the parasitic seed onto the trunk of the abyssal demon tree. The abyssal demon tree didn't seem to have any reaction. It couldn't feel the sound of the parasitic seed's flight at all. Whoosh! Under Xia Ping's gaze, the parasitic seed seemed to come to life when it approached the abyssal demon tree. It turned into an emerald green liquid and integrated into the body of the abyssal demon tree. In just an instant, the parasitic seed disappeared in front of Xia Ping. Interesting. Xia Ping's eyes lit up. Due to his special connection with the World Tree, he could feel that the parasitic seed easily integrated into the deepest part of the abyssal demon tree. The emerald green liquid kept squirming, trying to penetrate into the deepest part of the abyssal demon tree. He seemed to see the situation inside the abyssal demon tree. It was a huge sphere of nothingness, like a black sun. It was filled with endless abyss devil energy. Just looking at it seemed like the power of the abyss would corrode. It was almost impossible to resist. Countless abyssal law chains appeared inside this huge black sphere, as if they contained the 3,000 laws of the abyss. Countless abyssal law chains intertwined with each other, forming a huge abyssal boundary. Without a doubt, this was the core of the abyssal demon tree. Just looking at the abyssal demon tree's power, Xia Ping's eyes widened in amazement. Just by looking at the abyssal demon tree's origin core, he understood why the abyssal demon tree was so terrifying. This core was like the amalgamation of countless worlds and contained an enormous amount of abyssal essence power. Even the Green Lotus Hell's essence power couldn't compare to it. The difference was more than 100 times greater than the essence power of the Green Lotus Hell. Moreover, this origin energy was growing at an extremely rapid rate, as if it was constantly devouring the energy of the various worlds. This was simply a demonic tree parasitizing the main body of the abyss. Through this perception, he could also sense the countless roots of this demonic tree deeply rooted in every corner of the abyss world, almost extending to the end of the abyss. Every void of the abyss world had roots of the abyssal demonic tree, as if the void veins of the abyss world were formed by the roots of the abyssal demonic tree. If this abyssal demonic tree was destroyed, the entire abyss world would be heavily damaged. However, it was simply impossible to destroy such a demonic tree with the abyss world as its foundation. It was equivalent to a mortal fighting against the entire universe. One had to know that the vastness of the abyss world was no less than that of the modern universe. The two were the sides of light and darkness. Interesting. This abyssal demonic tree is similar to the world tree. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He could sense that the principles of the abyssal demonic tree and the world tree were almost the same. The world tree also used the energy of the universe as its foundation, expanding its roots to every corner of the universe. Once it grew to its peak, at that time, the world tree would be the universe, and the universe would be the world tree. The only difference was that the abyssal demonic tree was born from the abyss world. The universe under its rule was only suitable for the survival of abyssal creatures. It was difficult for other creatures to survive. However, the world tree was different. The universe it was in was extremely suitable for the survival of life in the modern universe. It moved. At this moment, Xiaoping could sense the sincere joy of the parasitic seed. As if it had encountered a superior prey, it sped up its actions. Rumble. In an instant, the parasitic seed silently approached the core of the abyssal demonic tree. As if it was drawn, it instantly integrated into the core. The parasitic seed immediately took root and began to settle in the core. Dense roots of the world tree grew, seemingly extending to a part of the core. As time passed, the roots of the parasitic seed might be able to cover every part of the core of the abyssal demonic tree. Amazing! Xiaoping blinked his eyes. He had seen the power of the world tree. It was indeed a demonic tree that was even more terrifying than the abyssal demonic tree. This seed could be called a true demonic seed. Moreover, this parasitic seed could not only parasitize plants. In fact, it could easily parasitize any life, even the body of a god, and absorb the energy of the god. This was the terrifying part of the parasitic seed. Even when it was parasitizing, it silently produced dense roots of the world tree. Each root was transparent and easily integrated into every corner of the life. At the same time, it would not let the life discover any abnormalities. It slowly replaced every blood vessel in the life. By the time the other party discovered it, it would be too late, and they would have long become a parasite. However, such a parasitic seed could not be condensed casually. Every time it condensed, it would consume most of the world tree's origin energy, and it would take a long time to recover. Therefore, if it was not a particularly valuable creature, the world tree would not be willing to use this method to deal with it. Obviously, the world tree had already felt that the abyssal demonic tree had such value that it was worth paying such a huge price. Moreover, once the world tree devoured the abyssal demonic tree, it did not know what realm it would grow to. Chapter 2777. However, Xiaoping quickly put aside the matter of the parasitic seed because he did not know how long it would take for the parasitic seed to take effect. It could only be said to be a casual move that would only take effect at the critical moment. Now, he could only wait for the parasitic seed to slowly blossom and bear fruit. Right. I wonder what treasures are in that palace. That is the place where the demon lord lives. There should be some treasures. Xiaoping looked at the palace behind the abyssal demon tree. To be honest, he was very curious about this mysterious palace from the beginning. He felt that there might be treasures in it, but with the demon lord guarding it, he could not go there. However, it was different now. The demon lord was being held back by his master, Dark North Saint. This was the best opportunity. If he missed this opportunity, he did not know when he would have to wait. Moreover, he had come to the Abyss Forbidden Area with great difficulty, so he could not go back empty-handed. Whoosh! In an instant, Xiaoping's figure flashed, and he used the Kuan Peng magic power to fly towards the palace silently. He arrived in front of the palace in an instant. Interesting, there are no restrictive formations? Xiaoping blinked. He originally thought that this palace would have a powerful restrictive formation. After all, this was the palace where the Demon Lord lived. One could imagine the defense inside. However, he was wrong. Perhaps it was because this was the Demon Lord's palace, and the Demon Lord would be guarding this place at all times. He would be the strongest defense, and no thief would be able to get close. Most importantly, this place was the famous forbidden area of the Abyss. Ordinary Abyss demons would not be able to get close. As for the various races in the modern world, they could not come to this place at the end of the Abyss world. After all, even an invincible saint could not resist the erosion of the abyssal demonic energy for a long time. Therefore, considering all these factors, there is no need to build any defensive restrictive formation in the palace where the Demon Lord resided. In fact, for billions of eras, this place had never been stolen. It was very safe. Oh my God, there's so many divine stones, right? As soon as he entered the palace, Xiaoping's eyes immediately widened. He felt his heart twitch, because in front of him was a small mountain of divine stones, exuding a strong divine power. It was as if just taking a breath in this place could allow one's cultivation to improve by thousands of years. One could only imagine how many divine stones were hidden in this place. These god stones were probably collected by the Devil Lord himself from all over the Abyss Forbidden Lands. Wherever it was easy to obtain god stones, the Devil Lord had already dug 3 feet deep. After accumulating for a long time, he had obtained a small mountain of divine stones. I'm rich. I'm really rich this time. With so many god stones, I can use them however I want. Corinne also sensed this scene through Xia Ping's divine sense, and immediately burst into laughter. He was incomparably excited. Previously, in the outer region of the Forbidden Abyss, just a few dozen divine stones were enough to kill a group of primordial, fiendish demons. But now, in this palace, there were so many divine stones. It was like a dream. If so many divine stones were to be released to the outside world, who knew how many saints would go crazy over them? It would not be a problem for them to start an earth-shattering war. So many god stones, there are at least 70 to 80 million. Greenox also couldn't help but tremble for a while. This was definitely an earth-shattering wealth. The wealth obtained before was probably not comparable to the treasures obtained now. This was also something that could not be helped. After all, the Abyss world was still very rich, especially when they also had a relic formed by the fall of a god. The treasures obtained were even more innumerable, and each of them was priceless. All of them are mine. Xiaoping waved his hand, and in an instant, these god stones were unceremoniously put into his space ring. He did not even let go of a little god stone fragment on the ground. He cleaned it up even cleaner than his face. Look, divine artifact fragments. So many divine artifact fragments. At least tens of thousands of pieces. Damn, how many good things did this Devil Lord plunder in this forbidden land? The Abyss Forbidden Lands have been emptied by this guy. It's really too corrupt. I don't know how much of the people's blood and sweat has he eaten. Hurry up and take it away to get rid of the evil for the people. Corinne shouted loudly. That's right. You're right. Plunder everything. Scum like this who plunder the wealth of the people are truly abominable. We're enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens, robbing the rich to help the poor. I believe that those ordinary abyssal demons will definitely be very grateful to us. We're getting rid of a great scourge for the Abyss. The Greenox also felt the same way and nodded repeatedly. He was distressed. He didn't expect the Devil Lord to be such a person. To be honest, at this moment, he felt a little distressed for the demons of the Abyss world. How could they not be unlucky to have such a boss? He only knows how to plunder the people's blood and sweat all day long. Indeed, money is like a bone-cutting knife. I don't know how many ambitious youths have been corrupted by it. I am afraid that Ancestor Qinkuan has fallen because of this. I must help him deal with such an evil thing. Xiaoping also nodded. He was not careless when he took action. Isn't that so? No wonder he stays here all day long and doesn't leave. This guy is a miser, staying here to guard the treasures. Corinne deeply felt the same. Hee. I was wondering why this old boy was so kind to let so many ancient demons enter the forbidden area of the abyss to train and let them plunder the treasures at will. It turns out that the big ones have been taken away by this guy, and the rest are the leftovers that he doesn't care about. Green Ox despised the stinginess of the Devil Lord. He only knows how to use small profits to bluff people. He doesn't have any magnanimity. Walala, Xia Ping waved his hand, and all the divine artifact fragments in this place were plundered by him. Even the residue on the ground was not spared. They were all good things that were contaminated with divine power, so he couldn't let them go. Moreover, even if these divine artifact fragments couldn't be combined into a new complete divine artifact, their materials were extremely precious and very rare in the universe. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if these divine artifact fragments couldn't be refined into other magic weapons, they could be eaten by the golden slime as materials for other magic weapons. He didn't know to what extent Xiao Jin would evolve after eating the divine artifact fragments, but he reckoned that it wouldn't be a problem for him to become the strongest golden slime since ancient times. After all, from ancient times to the present, no golden slime could eat the divine artifact fragments until they were full. Even the invincible saints weren't so extravagant, nor were they so prodigal. Master, look, there are many palaces inside. They are all the people's blood and sweat that guy has embezzled. They are all rare materials that he has plundered from all over the abyss. Hand them all over, don't be polite with him. Green Ox shouted loudly. He seemed to perceive that there were more treasures hidden inside. Sogu Reading Website. Chapter 2778. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival for Godly Demon. Currently typing, please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 2779. Whoosh! Xiaoping's figure flashed and immediately arrived at another palace. He opened the palace door and took a closer look. Colorful lights flashed inside. It was so dazzling that he could not even open his eyes. My God, there are so many treasures. The Green Ox's eyes widened. Look at what this is. Mystic Lightning Demon Iron, Sky Crimson Demon Copper, Star Pattern Demon Steel, Deep Sea Demon Silver. How many treasures did this guy plunder in the Abyss world? Why did he take all the good stuff? It immediately recognized the origins of the many materials hidden in the palace. The so-called Mystic Lightning Demon Iron was an ore born from a mine in the Abyss. It contained powerful lightning origin power and was engraved with dense lightning law patterns. At the same time, it was also eroded by the magic power of the Abyss, causing it to possess terrifying demonic properties. If this Mystic Lightning Demon Iron was used to forge an artifact, it would definitely be a Peerless Sage artifact. It also contained the lightning law origin power and abyssal magic power. There was also the Sky Crimson Demon Copper. It was also a rare ore in the Abyss and was famous in the Abyss world. It was extremely good at conducting magic power and had almost no loss. If this Sky Crimson Demon Copper was used to forge an artifact, it could display the combat power of a sage 100% without any loss of magic power. It could also be compatible with every sage. The Star Pattern Demon Steel was also extremely amazing. It was forged from the famous Star Pattern Stone of the Abyss world. One had to know that the Star Pattern Stone was the core ore of a star. Only one of billions of stars could give birth to such an ore. It contained a huge amount of Star Pattern Demon Steel. 100 of such Star Pattern Demon Steel could be forged into one piece of Star Pattern Demon Steel. One could imagine how precious this Star Pattern Demon Steel was. It was the best material for forging star-type artifacts. There was also the Deep Sea Demon Silver. This was a special ore born from a boundless sea in the Abyss world called the Abyssal Demon Sea. The Abyssal Demon Sea was also a famous danger zone in the Abyss. It was said that countless abyssal monsters lived in that sea. Each of them was extremely powerful. It was one of the most dangerous places in the Abyss. It was equally famous as the Abyss Forbidden Lands. And the Deep Sea Demon Silver was born from that place. Of course, the reason why they needed to mine such ores from the abyssal demon sea, and take such a huge risk was definitely worth it. The deep-sea demon silver had such value. If the deep-sea magic silver was attached to the edge of a weapon, such as the edge of a saber or sword, it could instantly increase the sharpness of these weapons by more than 10 times. It had a powerful armor-piercing effect, and ordinary sage-level defensive magic treasures could probably be chopped into scrap metal with a single slash. Most importantly, this deep-sea magic silver was terrifyingly corrosive and poisonous. It was a type of mercury that came from the abyssal demon sea. Regardless of whether it was the demons from the abyss or the living beings in the modern universe, even if they had reached the sage level and possessed an immortal body, they would not be able to withstand this kind of poison. In less than 3 days, the injured sage would be poisoned to death. Hence, such deep-sea magic silver was an extremely important strategic resource in the abyss. In the primordial era, countless sages in the modern universe had died from the poison of the deep-sea demonic silver. It is indeed a good thing. Xiaoping's eyes lit up when he saw these ores. Without saying anything, he immediately waved his hand and collected all these special ores from the abyss into his space ring. He didn't even plan to leave some or fragments in this place. Master, there are still a lot of elixirs from the abyss. Hurry up and take them, don't waste them. Seeing that the demon lord isn't someone who takes elixirs all day long, let's reluctantly help him deal with them. Azure Ox shouted, "You didn't even let go of the elixirs of the abyss world. Isn't that too much? These elixirs are suitable for the demons of the abyss. They are useless for the various races of the modern universe. Eating them won't bring any benefits. Instead, it will be fatal. What do you want these useless things for?" Corinne said in disdain. He could see that each of those elixirs contained a rich amount of abyssal magic power. If an ordinary life form ate them, they might instantly lose their mind and degenerate into an abyssal life form. For ordinary life forms, these elixirs were fatal. Of course, it was different for the demons of the abyss. These elixirs were a great tonic. What do you know? Of course, it's for research. The alchemy techniques of these demons of the abyss are still worth learning. Moreover, even if the various races of the modern universe can't take them, it doesn't mean that Master can't take them. Moreover, the most useless ones are those demons from the hell world. Their bodies are very powerful and won't care about these abyssal magic power. Azure Ox said in disdain. He had already thought of a way to make the best use of everything to ensure that they wouldn't be wasted. Ox, you alchemists are still the best. You can make good use of everything, plucking feathers from geese. I'm afraid that even a pile of shit can be refined into elixirs by you. Corinne sighed with emotion. Hearing these words, the corners of Azure Ox's mouth twitched. He felt that Corinne didn't have anything good to say. Walala, Xiaoping ignored the words of Azure Ox and Corinne. With a wave of his hand, he immediately plundered all the bottles and jars. He didn't plan to leave a single elixir for the demon lord, because even if he didn't take these elixirs from the abyss, he could still give them to the hell demons. Wow, Master, look, there are magic treasures here. So many magic treasures. My God, how many abyssal magic treasures is this guy hiding? Does he want to rebel? The green ox shouted. He sensed that in the deepest part of this palace, a large number of abyssal weapons were hidden. They were densely stacked together. There were at least hundreds of millions of them, and each of them was extremely powerful. After all, ordinary abyssal weapons couldn't enter the demon lord's eyes at all. Only abyssal magic treasures that had reached a certain level could enter the demon lord's collection room. Rebel? Whoever rebels, that guy is the abyss boss. Corinne said in disdain. It's indeed a bit unusual. If this is the demon lord's treasure house, then these treasures are too outrageous. This is completely a large arsenal. Xiaoping also felt that this treasure house was a bit unusual. I'm afraid that this is not as simple as the demon lord's treasure house. It may be the strategic material center of the abyss demons. It is an arsenal that has been accumulated for countless years in order to wage war against the main universe. That's why there are so many magic treasures here. Azure Ox voiced his guess. It is indeed possible. Xiaoping felt the same way. Only an arsenal could explain why there were so many abyssal magic treasures hidden in this place. Otherwise, ordinary sages wouldn't need to collect so many weapons. Chapter 2780. Could this be the entire arsenal of the Abyss world? If that's the case, then the number is too little. Corinne felt that the entire Abyss world was so big that it was impossible for it to only have so few weapons. Of course, it's not just an armory. I'm afraid this is just one of them, and it's also the most precious one. That's why the Demon Lord is here to guard it. The Azure Ox said, "Did you see that deep-sea fiendish silver just now?" During the primeval times, when the myriad of races were at war with the Abyss fiendish devils, they hated these things to the bone and feared them like tigers. However, such precious treasures are still very rare. 1 gram of deep-sea magic silver costs an astronomical price, and there might not even be a lot of it in the entire Abyssal Demon Sea. However, it's like barrels of it are free. It was very emotional. This time, they could be considered to have made a fortune. They had practically plundered the most important treasury of the Abyss world. They did not know if the Abyss demons and demon masters would want to kill their 9 clans after hearing this news. This time, they would probably incur the wrath of the entire Abyss. But are we really going to loot these magic treasures? I can sense that every abyssal magic treasure on it contains the spiritual imprint of an abyssal demon. If we take these things away, I'm afraid that those abyssal demons will know where we are. Corinne was worried about this. If these abyssal magic treasures appeared in the world of the classic of mountains and seas, with the guidance of the mental imprints of these abyssal magic treasures, the specific location of the classic of mountains and seas might be exposed. Don't worry, it's just the mental imprint of an abyss demon. Masters held Golden Crow fire can burn them all to ashes, the Green Bull said confidently. Burnt to ashes? I'm afraid that even the magic treasures themselves will be burned. Moreover, there's so many abyssal magic treasures, at least 100 million of them. How long will it take to burn them? There's no need to do anything else. Corinne felt that this was unreliable. If he waited for Xiaoping to remove the spirit imprint of all the abyssal magic treasures, then the Demon Lord would have already ended the battle and returned to the treasury. That is indeed a problem. Why don't we just pick some important and precious abyssal magic treasures and leave the rest here? Although it's a bit wasteful, don't take the risk. Greenox also agreed with Corinne's idea. No, you don't have to do that. You can take away all the treasures here. I won't leave a single one behind. Xiaoping said, Master, could it be that you have a good idea? Corinne and Greenox both looked at Xiaoping. Did you forget about the Yellow Spring holy water? This is a treasure from the Yellow Spring River. It can wash away all spiritual impurities, not to mention the spiritual imprint of an abyss demon or a demon lord. Even a demon god's spiritual imprint would turn into ashes under the washing of the Yellow Spring holy water. Xiaoping smiled. Yes, I almost forgot. Master still has Yellow Spring's holy water. This is indeed one of the most frightening treasures in the world. Speaking of Yellow Spring's holy water, Corinne and Greenox couldn't help but reveal a trace of fear. To be honest, artifact spirits like them were most afraid of the Yellow Spring's holy water. If they came into contact with even a drop of it, all their memories would be cleanly washed away, turning them into a blank piece of paper. It was as if he had already died and a new artifact spirit had been born. This was something fatal to any artifact spirit. Even the artifact spirits of God artifacts might not be able to withstand it. Fortunately, there were very few living beings who could obtain the Yellow Spring's holy water. Otherwise, it would definitely cause chaos in the world. However, if these spiritual imprints are removed, it will definitely attract the attention of the Demon Lord. It's better to take away all these treasures, and after reuniting with my main body, I will use the Yellow Spring's holy water to clean them up and then quickly leave the Abyss world. This way, even if the Demon Lord knows about this, he can't do anything to us. Xiaoping touched his chin. He had already thought of all the plans. After half an hour, Xiaoping had already plundered all the treasures inside and outside the treasury. All the treasures, no matter big or small, were taken away by him. He also helped to clean up the treasury. It was spotless. It couldn't be helped. He had mysophobia and couldn't bear to see other people's houses dirty. Not bad. It looks much more comfortable now. Xiaoping was very satisfied with his masterpiece. Looking at the empty treasury and the smooth, mirror-like floor, his heart was filled with a sense of accomplishment. As expected, a master, you were really a good person. You even helped this demon lord who embezzles the people's wealth to clean up. If it were me, I wouldn't care about this kind of thing. Azure Ox stepped forward and flattered. You're welcome, you're welcome. Everyone here is a guest. It's only right to do this kind of thing. Who told me to be the kind of person who can't bear to see other people's houses dirty? This is also one of my few shortcomings, Xiaoping said carelessly. The corners of Corinne's mouth twitched. Why did he feel that doing this was destroying the corpses and erasing the traces of the crime, increasing the difficulty of those abyssal demons chasing them and others? Such a spotless palace. How could those abyssal demons find any clues to track them down? Fingerprints, smells, and so on would all disappear under such a cleaning. With such a skillful method of committing crimes, who knows how many times he had done this kind of thing? Perhaps this habit of liking to clean was cultivated in this way. To be honest, he couldn't remember how many times Xiaoping had plundered other people's treasury. It had happened so many times that he was a little used to it. Oh, by the way, how can a person like me, who does things in an above-board manner, not leave his name behind? Otherwise, what if someone impersonates me? I have to leave some marks. Xiaoping touched his chin and immediately wrote a few big words on a smooth white wall. Wu Wudi was here. After writing these words, his figure flashed and left the palace. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Not long after, the World Tree clone and the Kuin Peng clone left the inner area of the Forbidden Abyss and returned to the outer area. They came to a cave and gathered with the main body. The demon lord shouldn't have discovered that the treasures have been stolen yet. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. Although these treasures had the demon lord's spiritual imprint on them, the other party was fighting with his master, Dark North Saint. How could he sense the movement of his treasures? Even if he sensed it, the demon lord probably wouldn't be able to do anything at this moment. Forget it. I'd better quickly remove these spiritual imprints and then return to the main universe. Thinking of this, Xiaoping didn't hesitate and immediately put the treasures that he had plundered into the world of the classic of mountains and seas, then piled them up in an open space. Then he took out the Yellow Springs holy water and immediately poured it on these abyssal magic treasures and abyssal materials. Sizzle, in the blink of an eye, these treasures immediately emitted wisps of white smoke, and the extremely stubborn spiritual imprints that were originally engraved on the treasures quickly disappeared. They were completely corroded, leaving nothing behind. Sogu website, Chapter 2781. At this moment, in a different space in the Abyss world, Ancestor of Heaven and Earth and Dark North Saint were fighting in this place. Because this space was extremely sturdy, even if an invincible saint fought here with all his might, it would not affect other places and cause much damage. At this time, although it had not been more than an hour in the outside world, because of the distortion of space and time, time was extended. The two of them did not know how many days they had been fighting, and they had killed each other hundreds of millions of times. If it had been an ordinary saint, his magic power would have been exhausted long ago. However, Ancestor of Heaven and Earth was still unharmed, and he did not even breathe. His body still emitted an unfathomable aura of the abyss, like a bottomless black hole. No one knew where his limits were. Dark North Saint had countless bloody wounds all over his body, as if he had turned into a man of blood. A large amount of blood flowed out of his body, but even so, his aura did not weaken at all. I see. Ancestor of Heaven and Earth narrowed his eyes. No wonder you dare to fight me. Did you get the power of a powerful god? Every time you receive a fatal injury, you will recover in an instant. If not for this ability, you would have died many times. He looked at Dark North Saint. To be honest, if it was an ordinary saint, he would have crushed him long ago. Even if it was an invincible saint of the same level, he could still seriously injure or even kill him. But Dark North Saint was different. Even if he used countless methods, it was difficult to kill this guy. His attacks would always be blocked by some powerful divine power in his body, and he would recover instantly. This was simply an immortal body. If this was the case, there was no point in continuing to fight. He also thought of a problem. This guy clearly had an immortal body, but he still came to fight him. Perhaps there was a conspiracy, or perhaps it was to delay him, so that other saints could carry out other plans. Thinking of this, he did not want to continue to delay. There was no need to drag his plan down and affect the overall situation because of this guy who could not be killed. Forget it, I won't argue with you for now. Although this ability of yours seems to be unkillable, there are many ways to deal with it in the abyss. When I am ready, you will die for sure. Ancestor of heaven and earth wanted to turn around and leave. Master, why are you leaving so quickly? I haven't had enough fun yet. Is this all you have? You want to destroy the modern universe with just this bit of strength? You're too naive. With a whoosh, Dark North Saint's figure flashed and immediately stood in front of Ancestor Chinquin, not letting him leave. His task was to stall Ancestor Chinquin and not let him get in the way. If a terrifying sage like the Demon Lord appeared on the battlefield, the damage caused would be great, and it would definitely affect the situation of the battle. As expected, you want to stop me? What is your plan for coming to the abyss? Patriarch Chinquin narrowed his eyes and stared at Dark North Saint. Of course there's a plan. Otherwise, do you think we spent so much effort to build a void channel that connects the modern universe and the abyss just to play house here? Dark North Saint said matter-of-factly, you're wasting your energy. No matter what you do, it's all futile. Even if you can buy some time, the modern universe will definitely be destroyed by the abyss. Ancestor Chinquin said lightly, how would we know if we don't fight? The Dark North Saint was unfazed. What a difficult guy to deal with. Ancestor Chinquin was a little annoyed. He was entangled by this guy in this place, and he didn't even know what was happening in the abyss. He originally thought that he could quickly get rid of this guy, but it was obvious that Dark North Saint's strength and ability were beyond his imagination. It was because of this negligence that the abyss was passive. Suddenly, Ancestor Chinquin's face changed. He felt that many of the abyssal magic treasures that he had left his spiritual imprint on, as well as some precious abyssal materials, had lost their spiritual connection with him. In almost a breath's time, he had completely lost his perception of these treasures. One had to know that these treasures were strategic resources that the abyss had prepared for God knows how many years. Among them were God's stones, God's blood, divine weapon materials, and so on. These were things that even invincible sages coveted. They were usually placed next to the abyssal demon tree to guard, and no life could get close to that place. But now he had lost his perception of these treasures, and the spiritual imprint on these treasures had disappeared one by one. How incredible was this? After all, this was a spiritual imprint that he had personally engraved. It was a demigod-level imprint. Even a demigod saint of the same level would not be able to remove his demigod imprint. Without hundreds or even thousands of years, it would be impossible to do so. Therefore, Ancestor of Heaven and Earth was very confident that even if it was only for a short time, with his perception of the spiritual imprint, he would be able to catch the thief even if he fled to the ends of the earth. But now, these demigod imprints had disappeared in an instant, completely erasing his spiritual connection. What kind of method did he use to do this? Damn you, Dark North, you thieves. You've done so many things behind my back just to steal my abyss treasure. No wonder you wanted to lure me away from the abyssal demonic tree. You despicable people. Thinking of this, Ancestor of Heaven and Earth was so angry that he could not restrain his anger. With a roar, a wave of anger rushed from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. With his body as the center, a series of terrifying spatial fluctuations appeared, seemingly distorting the layers of space-time, as if it had turned into a black hole, devouring everything. Hearing these words, Dark North Saint blinked his eyes. Thief? Stealing treasures? Deceiving the heavens? What nonsense is Ancestor of Heaven and Earth talking here? Although they did have a second plan this time. The problem was that they did not intend to steal the abyss treasure. After all, most of the abyss treasure was useless to the myriad heavens. But looking at Ancestor of Heaven and Earth's angry look, it did not seem to be a joke. Could it be that there was a third force sneaking into the abyss while the myriad heavens and the abyss were at war. He was a little puzzled. Who on earth was this third force? How could it hide from the myriad heavens and the abyss demons, the two super forces? This was a little too remarkable, wasn't it? Dark North, I'll remember this. The next time I see you, you'll definitely die. Ancestor of heaven and earth shouted angrily and waved his hand. Wait! Dark North Saints still wanted to stop it, but it was of no use. A tyrannical power of space-time instantly teleported Dark North Saint out of this alternate space. Chapter 2782. Whoosh! There was a distortion of space-time. The furious ancestor of heaven and earth teleported back from the alternate dimension. He immediately returned to the vicinity of the abyssal demon tree and quickly went to the palace behind it. Bastard, which son of a b*** Tisich actually emptied my treasure house. Ancestor of heaven and earth came to the door of the palace. He didn't need to look at it at all. He just scanned it with his divine sense and instantly sensed the situation inside and outside the entire palace. It would have been better if he didn't sense it, but once he did, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood and fainted. It should have been a dazzling treasure house with many treasures, but now it was empty. It was even cleaner than his face. The ground could even reflect light and be used as a mirror. They didn't even leave a single thing behind. These bastards, they caused such a huge commotion just to steal my treasures. These bastards, I will definitely not let them off. The demon lord was so angry that he almost exploded. He looked at his empty treasure house and felt like his heart was bleeding. It was as if his flesh was being cut. To be honest, he didn't have any emotional fluctuations ever since he became the demon lord. He was even more shrewd than the abyss. But now he felt pain in his heart. In order to obtain so many treasures and important strategic resources, he didn't know how many demons in the abyss world he used to search day and night. It wasn't easy for him to find so many treasures. These treasures were meant to play a role at the critical moment. If he wanted to plunder the same treasures again, it would probably take billions of epics. Some treasures, such as divine stones, divine blood, fragments of divine artifacts, and so on, were treasures that couldn't be bought even if you had money. Gone was gone, and it was impossible to find them again. After all, those were treasures formed from the corpses of gods. How could it be so easy to get them again? Now, that group of Ned bastards had actually plundered his treasure house. Not even a hair was left. The treasure house was cleaner than his face. Even if a mouse entered the granary, it wouldn't be so excessive. At the sight of such a scene, he simply wished that he could slaughter all the saints of the various races in the universe. Only then would he be able to vent the anger in his heart. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, the void in the distance twisted, and 6 terrifying abyssal kings walked out. They were the great elders of the monster demon palace, and also the trusted subordinates of Ancestor Qianquan. One of them was a terrifying rancor that Xia Ping recognized, Great Elder Emoan. They seemed to have heard the summons of the Devil Lord and came out from their seclusion grounds. Demon Lord, what happened? Why did you summon us? The 6 great elders of the fiendish demon palace came to the side of Ancestor Qianquan and said respectfully to him. One had to know that even if the saints of the modern universe attacked the abyss, they would not be able to force these great elders out of their closed-door training. However, due to the Devil Lord's orders, they chose to come out of their closed-door training. This had to be a major event that affected the entire abyss world for the demon lord to issue such an order. Our treasury has been robbed. All the treasures were stolen by those damned bastards. Not a single one was left. Ancestor Qianquan's face was extremely gloomy, as black as charcoal. What? The treasure was stolen? Are you kidding me? The treasures in this treasury are the important strategic resources of the abyss. If it was stolen, how long would it take to make up for it? Make up for my ass. Every treasure is precious and rare in the world. If it was stolen, it would be impossible to make up for it. This is a loss that cannot be made up for. Damn it. Which bastard did such a wicked thing? He is too shameless. It must be those saints of the modern universe. Only those damned bastards would be so shameless. They made such a big fuss by opening the void passage between the modern universe and the abyss just to steal our treasures. These damned bastards are simply shameless to the extreme. We must cut those bastards into pieces. We must make them compensate for this loss." Hearing these words, the great elders of the fiendish demon palace had a drastic change in their expressions. How could they not know the importance of this treasury? It could be said to be one of the most important treasures in the abyss world. At this moment, it was stolen. All the treasures were stolen by others. This was simply an unbearable burden for the abyss world. At this moment, all of them were furious. "Let's go in and see if there are any clues left behind. Time is so short. No matter how powerful that thief is, it is impossible for him not to leave some traces. If we search carefully, we might be able to find some clues." Great Elder Himon said in a deep voice, calmly analyzing. "Yes, let's go in and take a look. No matter how powerful that thief is, he will definitely leave some traces." The other great elders could not help but nod. They immediately walked into the treasury and carefully searched for clues. Great Elder Mo even wanted to distort time and space to observe the historical images left behind. Unfortunately, the depths of time and space were blurry. He could not see anything. It was as if a tyrannical power had forcefully erased the images of time and space. Even Great Elder Emolin, who was a time demon, could not find any clues. That damned bastard actually stole everything from our treasury in such a short time. He did not leave any traces behind. Not only did he not leave anything behind, he even cleaned up the treasury. There is not a single speck of dust here. That damned thief is too arrogant. He stole things and still did what he did here. What does he think the abyss is? Is this his home? He comes and goes as he pleases. Does he really think he is a big shot? The group of Devil Demon Palace elders was furious. They felt that the thief was simply too arrogant. It did not matter that he stole all the treasures in such a short time, but he still had the leisure to help clean up. How arrogant was that? As long as they thought of this, they would be infuriated. That thief is not just arrogant. He is simply lawless. After stealing things, he actually dared to leave his name. At this moment, Ancestor Chinquin also noticed the words on the wall. Wu Woody was here. His face was as black as a black hole. No one knew how angry he was at the moment. Arrogant, too arrogant. After stealing from our abyss, not only did he not run away quietly, he even dared to leave his name here. Are you afraid that we won't know who did this? That's right. You're too arrogant. A great elder of the monstrous demon palace flew into a rage. Was here? That damn bastard really thinks that the abyss is a tourist place. A great elder of the Devil Demon Palace was so angry that he pounded the wall. Provocation. This damn bastard is provoking the abyss. He is looking down on us. A great elder of the Devil Demon Palace was furious. Wu Woody? Who is this damned Wu Woody? Where did he come from? If I find him, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to wipe out his entire clan and tear him to pieces. The other great elder of the monstrous demon palace roared furiously. Sogu website. Chapter 2783. Wu Woody, this name sounds familiar. Suddenly, an abyssal demon grand elder said, I remember this kid is a human. He has ruined our plans several times. What? As soon as he said that, almost all the great elders of the monster demon palace recalled this name. They seem to have heard this human name, Wu Woody, in several meetings. However, they did not expect Wu Woody's name to appear in their treasure vault. So it's that bastard. I was wondering why his name sounded so familiar. Just how many times has that bastard ruined the plans of our abyss? Now, this bastard has come to steal the treasury of our abyss. This son of Ibi Asterisk TCH should be captured and torn to pieces. One of the great elders was so angry that his body trembled. Thinking of what Wu Woody had done before, new hatred and old hatred surged in his heart. What's the background of that Wu Woody? Why haven't we found out his true identity? What's his family? Who's his master? What's his relationship with them? Why haven't we found out? How long has it been? Did that bastard jump out of nowhere? The great elder of the Monster Demon Palace was so angry that his face turned pale. This guy had caused so much trouble for the abyss, and it was getting worse every time. Previously, he had done it in the modern universe. They could not do anything about it. Now, this son of AB asterisk TCH had come to the abyss to cause trouble. He was simply turning a blind eye to them. How arrogant was this son of AB asterisk TCH? Did he think that the abyss demons were vegetarians? They could not do anything about this bastard. We have no choice. We have used many forces, but we have not been able to find this kid's true identity. It seems that this kid's true identity is a top secret among the human race. Other than the human race patriarchs, no one knows. Another great elder of the monster demon palace smiled bitterly. He was very helpless. They also wanted to find out Wu Wudi's true identity, but the human race had protected Wu Wudi so well that they could not do anything. Protected so well? Wu Wudi must be from the human race. He might be a spy trained by the human race, the kind that wreaks havoc all day long. A great elder of the monster demon palace roared. In that case, let's annihilate the human race. Kill every human in the modern universe. I don't believe that we can't find out where Wu Wudi is. It clenched its fists tightly. It was furious. Let's do it. Let's kill those audacious, invincible sages who dared to invade our abyss first. Ancestor Chinkoan's eyes flashed with a cold light. He couldn't catch that little thief Wu Wudi now, so he decided to vent his anger on the invincible saints of the myriad races. Go! The great elders of the monster demon palace were filled with murderous intent. They had been suppressing their anger and were looking for someone to vent it on. At that moment, the space near the southern heaven gate twisted, and Dark North Saint's figure appeared near the southern heaven gate again. This time, he was in a very sorry state, and his body was covered in blood. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The undefeatable saints near the south heaven gate immediately noticed the Dark North Saint who had returned. Interesting, to be able to come back alive after facing the demon lord. This Dark North fellow is not simple. Just what kind of secret is the human race hiding? Instantly, the eyes of the undefeatable saints of the other races glinted with cold light. To be honest, they also knew what this Dark North Saint's mission was, which was to stall the demon lord. For any other undefeatable saint, this was a mission with a slim chance of survival. But this Dark North Saint actually succeeded and came back alive. This was enough to make the undefeatable saints of countless races look at Dark North Saint in a different light. At the same time, it also increased the danger level of Dark North Saint by several levels. Did you succeed? Xiaoyao Ancestral Master asked with his divine sense. Yes, I succeeded, but something strange happened in the end. Because of this, I was able to get away easily. Otherwise, I would have to pay a heavy price to get away. Dark North Saint nodded. To be honest, although the demon lord couldn't kill him in battle, he could use all kinds of methods to stall him. Moreover, after 1 hour, the undefeatable saints of the South Heaven Gate would retreat, leaving him alone in the abyss world. In this way, he probably wouldn't be able to resist the erosion of the abyss origin power and would be sealed here forever. Therefore, this was a mission with a slim chance of survival, and it wasn't easy to complete. He had relied on a lot of luck to complete it. Something strange? What is it? Xiaoyao Ancestral Master frowned. To be honest, no saint liked variables, especially when it came to a sure win plan. Variables meant failure. It seems that the demon lord's backyard is on fire, and some other saints went there to steal treasures. I don't know if any of us have this plan, or did a third force join in? Dark North Saint asked. We definitely don't have such a plan here. Just luring the demon lord away is already taking the risk of death. Why would we do something that would complicate the situation? According to what you said, a third force is involved. Is it a force from the abyss itself, or a force from the main universe? The question is, how did they enter the abyss and resist the erosion of the abyss origin power? Xiaoyao Ancestral Master was puzzled. To be honest, he felt that this matter was very important. If a mysterious third force was really plotting against them, then he had to consider it carefully. Is it possible that it's a force left from the last universe century? Dark North Saint narrowed his eyes. It's very possible. After all, they can live through the last universe century, and who knows how many forces and trump cards they have. Maybe they even have many godly artifacts. To be honest, compared with the abyss demons, We have to be more cautious of the beings left from the last universe century. Xiaoyao Ancestral Master clenched his fists. Although the biggest enemy of all the races in the universe was the Abyss Demons, he had never forgotten for 1 second the many races that had survived from the last universe century. Those races had lived through the mythological era, and each race's foundation was extremely horrifying. Rumble, at this moment, a black abyss portal appeared in the distant void, and 7 magnificent figures walked out from it. Each of them emitted an aura that could pierce through the void. The moment they appeared, heaven and earth shook. It was as if the origin of the entire abyss was boiling, and endless abyssal currents were tumbling continuously. Vaguely, there were countless wronged souls wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves, heart-rending and lung-splitting. Damn it, the Demon Lord is here. All the unrivaled saints had goosebumps as if they were facing a great enemy. They felt a huge threat. Third Gate Master. Chapter 2784. Strange. How come I feel like these Abyss Kings are a bit angry? Empyrean Ancestral Master stroked his white beard. He was good at reading people's minds and immediately sensed that the Demon Master and the other Abyss Kings were enraged and couldn't conceal the fury in the depths of their hearts. After all, these Abyss Demons were all deeply submissive and cunning. They had never shown their emotions on their faces, but now they didn't hide it all. Obviously, they were extremely angry and didn't care if others could see it or not. They're indeed very angry. Could it be that our plan was discovered by them? Xiaoyao Ancestral Master narrowed his eyes. No. If they found out, they wouldn't be angry. Instead, they would be ecstatic. Empyrean Ancestral Master shook his head. Anyway, it seems that something we don't know happened, and it made them so angry. Maybe a third force did something to Abyss. Dark North Saint guessed. Boom! At this moment, the Demon Lord took a step forward, almost not concealing the anger in the depths of his heart. He glared at the saints of the various races, especially the few saints of the human race. Good, very good. This time, my Abyss has really suffered a great loss. You actually took advantage of a moment of carelessness and sent people to infiltrate my Abyss treasury, stealing all the treasures that I have accumulated over the years, causing my Abyss to suffer a great loss. You have really done well. What? Stealing treasures? Hearing his words, the saints looked at each other in bewilderment because such a thing didn't happen in their plan. They didn't know what the Demon Master was talking about, either. The human saints were the same. Human, you're still King playing dumb. You're quite good at it. It was done by you human saints, and you're still pretending to be so smart. You're all very shrewd, aren't you? You're all award-winning actors. Seeing the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master and the other saints still pretending to be confused as if they didn't know anything, the first elder of Demon Palace was enraged. To be honest, their confused looks were too bewildering. If it weren't for the irrefutable evidence, they would have been fooled by the old ancestors of the human clan. Looking at their confused eyes, it seemed that they really didn't know anything. Was it done by a human saint? Curious, the sages of other races all focused their gazes on the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master and the other human sages. I don't know what you're talking about. Who doesn't know that you abyssal demons are all sinister and cunning? You're good at lying, and you like to frame others and sow discord. You can't even believe your words. The Xiaoyao Ancestral Master stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Many sages nodded their heads. That was indeed the case. If they could believe the words of these demons from the abyss, they would rather believe that pigs could fly. Shut up, you're still playing dumb. The evidence is already conclusive, yet you're still twisting words and forcing logic. Let me ask you, did the human race send that Wu Woody to steal from my treasury? And he was so arrogant, as if he was afraid that we wouldn't know that he was the one who did it. He even left his name, saying that Wu Woody was here. If you want to have King deny it, I'll see what you can say. A great elder of a monstrous demon palace cursed. He could barely control himself. What? Wu Woody. The mouths of the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master, Emptiness Ancestral Master, Dark North Saint, and other human ancestral masters twitched. How could they not know what kind of person Wu Woody was? Damn it, it's this troublemaker again. No matter where he goes, he haunts like a ghost and causes trouble wherever he goes. How could this guy even enter the abyss? How'd he do it? Of course, it wasn't difficult to enter the abyss, but it was difficult to resist the erosion of the power of the abyss. If he couldn't stay for long. Moreover, the most infuriating thing was that this brat had taken advantage of the fact that the myriad races in the heavens were rebelling against the abyss to fish in troubled waters. He had even plundered the treasury of the abyss and made a huge fortune. This brat really dared to do anything. Of course, if he did it secretly, it wouldn't be a big deal. After all, there was no evidence. However, this kid didn't do that. He even left his name as if he was afraid that others wouldn't know. Even if he wanted to deny it, he couldn't do it since the evidence was conclusive. Dark North, what's going on? How did your disciple sneak into the abyss at such a coincidental time? Did you tell him our plan? The Xiaoyao ancestral master asked secretly. Impossible. How could I tell him such a plan? Besides, it's useless even if I told him. He can't get involved in such a thing. The corner of Dark North's saint's mouth twitched. He couldn't reveal this to Xia Ping because it was a plan between the invincible sages. It was useless for other sages to get involved. Previously, he only heard that his disciple did all kinds of ridiculous things. Of course, at that time, he didn't think it was a big deal since it was just a child's play. But now it was different. He even stole everything from the Abyss treasure vault and angered the demon lord and many kings of the Abyss. This was a big event that shook the entire universe. What was going on? Was this brat so terrifying after he grew up? Is it really just a coincidence? Emptiness Ancestral Master asked. I'm not sure. Maybe it's really a coincidence. Or maybe he accidentally learned of our plan from somewhere else and wanted to take the opportunity to sneak in. When we return to the main universe, we can ask that brat. Dark North Saint said speechlessly. Even if he was beaten to death, he would never have thought that his disciple could actually cause such a big trouble. Moreover, his courage was simply too fat. He dared to do such a thing under the eyes of the Demon Lord. If the Demon Lord found out, he would even lose his life. This was the saying, birds die for food and men die for wealth. Indeed, no matter if it's that brat who did it or not, it's a good thing for all the races in the universe. It's a good thing that Abyss is so angry about it. The Xiaoyao ancestral master smiled faintly. The other old ancestors also nodded. That was indeed the case. Anything that could make the enemy angry was naturally a good thing. There was no doubt about it. Human, hand over all the treasures that you stole. Otherwise, our Abyss will consign you to eternal damnation and make you die without a whole corpse. Do you understand? A great elder of the monstrous demon palace roared furiously. Get lost! The Xiaoyao ancestral master yelled angrily and loudly. If you want to punish someone, you can always find a pretext. Let's ignore the fact that it's impossible for us to do it. Even if we did, so what? You want us to spit out the things that we took. You're dreaming. Get as far away from us as you can. Do you think you could do that? Chapter 2785. Human, you're seeking death. You're seeking your own death. Hearing these words, the Abyss Kings were enraged. They couldn't bear such insults. It was these bastards who stole the treasures of their Abyss, and they should be in the wrong. Looking at this guy's expression, others who didn't know would think that the Abyss was in the wrong. He was boasting shamelessly and speaking righteously. This made them want to tear this asterisk star into pieces. Instantly, horrifying murderous spirits burst out from their bodies and targeted the human saints. Kill him! A first elder of the demon palace yelled angrily, wanting to attack the Xiaoyao ancestral master and the other saints. Fools! Do you think we dared to come to the Abyss without any trump cards? He did so many things just to lure all of you out and bury all of you here. The Xiaoyao ancestral master sneered and made a hand seal, seeming to activate a secret treasure on his body. A destructive wave burst out from his body and swept across tens of thousands of light years. What? The expressions of the Abyss Kings, including the demon masters, changed drastically. They could feel the destructive wave from the Xiaoyao ancestral master, which could destroy the world. Even invincible Saint couldn't resist it. It seemed that this attack could destroy the world and return it to chaos. Damn it! What does this human want? What treasure does he have? How can it have such horrifying, destructive waves? An Abyss King's expression was extremely dark. It might be a secret treasure the humans got from the dark, forbidden zone. It has the power to destroy the world. Maybe it's a weapon left by a god from the previous universe. An Abyss King guessed, if this guy activates such a secret treasure here, all the saints here will die. Does he want to die with us? Some Abyss Kings gritted their teeth. It's very possible. In the primeval times, many saints sacrificed themselves for a noble cause. They used themselves as bombs and detonated themselves with the other Abyss Kings, killing many elites of our Abyss. That's why we're constantly losing. Damn it, these bastards want to do it again. They want to kill all of us Abyss Kings so that we won't be able to fight another war. We can't let this human scum have his way. Retreat. Retreat immediately. Deploy our defensive formations and defend against him. We've been tricked. I didn't think that this group of bastards would have such a scheme. We definitely can't let them succeed. You want to be buried here with us? Dream on. Many abyssal kings communicated with each other through their divine senses. As if they were facing a great enemy, they instantly formed a formation, forming nodes of the formation's restrictions. A huge void barrier was formed, and it was equipped with powerful defensive restrictions. Even the self-destruction of an invincible saint would not be able to damage such a defensive formation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, at this moment, the invincible sages that were scattered in the surroundings flashed and hid inside the southern heavenly gate in a breath's time, including the Dark North Saint. Xiaoyao, Ancestral Master, the instigator of all this, ran faster than anyone else. With a yell, he looked as if he didn't fear death, but he was the first to run into the southern heavenly gate. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared in front of the many Abyss demons. Seeing this, the Abyss Kings, just you wait. You Abyss demons, don't let me see you again. Otherwise, I'll kill every single one of you. Today, I have something to take care of. You're lucky today. Otherwise, all of you Abyss Kings would have been killed today. Even though he had fled into the southern heavenly gate, the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master's arrogant voice still came out. Damn it, this bitch was tricked. Hearing these words, an Abyss King's face turned green. Of course, it knew that they had been tricked. This bastard didn't want to use a secret treasure to die with them. He was just bluffing. But they couldn't see through it and were instantly fooled by this bastard. However, they didn't know that the famous and well-respected human ancestral master who had lived since the primeval times was so despicable, shameless, and capable of telling all kinds of lies. Kill this Xiaoyao Ancestral Master. Don't run if you have the guts. The Abyss Kings were infuriated. They instantly attacked and shot beams of nomological light at the southern heavenly gate, bursting out destructive power that could destroy everything. Boom, but it was too late. The southern heavenly gate instantly burst out endless nomological barriers. Layers of them stacked up, and a total of 129,600 layers appeared, blocking the southern heavenly gate. The southern heavenly gate wasn't only a spatial divine artifact, but also an extremely powerful defensive divine artifact. It was said that in the previous era of the gods, the southern heavenly gate was the door to the residence of the gods and had stopped countless gods from entering. One could imagine how powerful its defense was. Bang, bang, bang. Instantly, the nomological light bombarded the nomological barriers of the southern heavenly gate. Like stones falling into the ocean, they didn't cause much of a ripple. All the attacks were completely devoured by the southern heavenly gate's attack. Rumble in the next second, the southern heavenly gate slowly closed. All the invincible saints disappeared from the abyss world, and the powerful portal divine artifact quickly merged into the void. The temporary void passage connecting the abyss world and the main universe had also disappeared without a trace at this moment. Even if the abyssal kings wanted to chase after them, they couldn't do anything. Despicable, shameless humans, they actually tricked us. The abyss and you humans are irreconcilable. Just you wait. The abyssal kings were furious. because this scene reminded them of the painful lessons the humans gave the Abyss in the primordial era. Back then, the humans weren't as powerful as they were now, but they also brought heavy losses to the Abyss and were listed as the greatest enemy of the Abyss. Now that the humans had done it again, new and old grudges surged up in their hearts. If their anger could condense into a physical substance, it was estimated that their anger could burn every human being into ashes, and countless planets in the universe would be razed to the ground. Demon Master, what do we do now? An Abyssal King looked at the Demon Master beside him. Don't worry, this is just a small trick. No matter how they struggle, they can't escape from the suppression of the general trend. If we proceed according to the plan, the main universe will be scorched this time. The Demon Master said calmly. Yes, Demon Master. The Abyssal Kings clenched their fists, their killing intent surging. All races, enjoy the last light of your lives. At this moment, the Demon Master's gaze was deep and distant, as if he was looking at the end of the abyss. Endless abyssal demonic power rose from his body. Soga website, chapter 2786. At this moment, in a mysterious place in the central cosmos of the main universe, a huge and majestic southern heaven gate stood in the void of the universe. Countless invincible sages walked out of the southern heaven gate and stood around it, emitting an unfathomable aura. We finally left that damn place. The abyssal power is really terrifying. It's not something our races can resist. If another 10 minutes had passed, even us invincible sages might not have been able to resist the erosion of the abyssal power. At that time, even we might have degenerated into abyssal demons. The abyss is indeed not a place we can stay. Those demons are simply blessed by the heavens and are invincible in the abyss. No matter what we do, we can't exterminate them all. They will always be a great threat to the main universe. Many of the invincible saints discussed among themselves. After an hour of fighting, their bodies were in tatters and there were bloodstains everywhere. It was obvious that they had suffered serious injuries. Even if they were trying to stop the Abyssal Kings, it was still a life-and-death battle between invincible sages. If they were careless, they might be doomed. Most importantly, if they were injured in the Abyss world, the abyssal power would instantly corrode the body through the wound. That was an extremely serious consequence. Hence, every invincible sage had to be extremely careful to avoid serious injuries. Otherwise, they might have to stay in the Abyss world forever. Fortunately, no accidents happened, and they didn't lose anyone. Right, Dark North, how's the plan going? An invincible sage looked at Dark North Sage and asked. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The other invincible sages also looked at Dark North. They spent a lot of effort to stop the Abyssal Kings so that the plan would succeed. If the plan didn't succeed, then it would be meaningless. The plan has succeeded. The Demon Lord didn't discover my tricks, but whether it succeeds or not depends on the will of the heavens, Dark North said. It's good that it succeeded. As the saying goes, man proposes, God disposes. Whether it succeeds or not depends on the heavens. Patriarch Kong stroked his white beard. The other invincible sages heaved a sigh of relief when they heard that. They had taken such a huge risk. If it didn't succeed, then the main universe would be in danger. But what's going on with that Wu-Woody? I heard from the Abyssal Kings that Wu-Woody secretly stole the treasures of the Abyss. Is this your second plan that we didn't discover? At this moment, an invincible saint of the demon race questioned. The other invincible sages narrowed their eyes and looked at Dark North and the others, exerting a lot of pressure. That's not true. Those Abyssal Kings are just talking nonsense. Just completing the plan took us a tremendous amount of effort. How could we possibly have the strength to carry out the second plan? The Xiaoyao ancestral master stroked his beard and said mildly, Besides, who cares about the Abyss treasures? Each treasure contains Abyss demon power, and the creatures in the universe can't use them. Isn't it suicidal to take them? You can't say that. Although most of the abyssal treasures are useless to us, some of them are useful. Besides, the anger of the Abyssal Kings isn't an act. The invincible sage of the demon clan narrowed his eyes and said, "If you really take the abyssal treasures, I hope you can consider the big picture and hand over all the treasures so that the sages can divide them evenly. After all, we're taking a big risk, and we can't just let you humans get the benefits. It's not fair." Greed appeared in his eyes, and he wanted a piece of the treasure. Taoist friend, you're mistaken. This is the goal of the Abyssal Kings. They want to sow discord and shake the alliance of the all heavens with a few lies. Isn't that their goal? Patriarch Kong's sages smiled faintly and remained unmoved. Think about it. That place is the end of the abyss and contains horrifying abyssal demon power. Even the invincible sages of the demon clan can't resist it, let alone the sages of the human clan. All the human sages who came through the southern heavenly gate are here. Do we have other ways to enter the abyss world? Even if we enter the abyss world, how can we resist the erosion of the abyssal demon power? The invincible sage of the demon clan was speechless and didn't know what to say. Indeed, even invincible sages like them could only stay in the abyss world for 1 hour. How could the other sages stay that long? There were indeed other ways to enter the abyss world, which was to enter the outer area of the abyss through the entrance and then enter the core area of the abyss step by step. The problem was that it would take more time than 1 hour. It would take at least several months. However, which creature in the main universe could live in the abyss world for several months? Only the invincible sages like them could use the southern heavenly gate to teleport to the core area of the abyss world to survive in the abyss world for a short time and finish the battle quickly. However, since all the human sages were here, they couldn't hide it. Enough. Don't be fooled by the words of the abyssal demons. Don't even believe their words. If they succeed in sowing discord, the alliance of the all heavens and realms will be finished. At this moment, an invincible sage of the elemental clan stood up and spoke for the human clan. The other sages nodded. Although they were also suspicious, they couldn't say anything without evidence. More importantly, they were at the critical moment of the war and didn't want to break the alliance because of such a small matter. Otherwise, the abyssal demons would laugh their heads off. "I'm sorry. I was too rash." The invincible sage of the demon clan had no choice but to admit his mistake. "It's okay. After all, who hasn't made mistakes? I hope you won't make the same mistake again." The Xiaoyao ancestral master hid a dagger in his smile. The invincible sage of the demon clan gritted his teeth but didn't dare to say anything. Half a day later, the invincible sages left. They gathered here only for the sake of the plan. Now that the plan was completed, they would return to the headquarters of their clans. The invincible sages of the human clan also returned to the headquarters of the human clan. "How was it? Did you send a message to ask that brat what happened? Did he do it or not?" The Xiaoyao ancestral master turned and looked at Dark North Saint. The other patriarchs also looked at Dark North Saint curiously. Chapter 2787. "I did." Dark North Saint had a strange look on his face. "Oh, then how did he answer?" The Xiaoyao ancestral master and the others all looked at Dark North Saint curiously. "He did not answer, nor did he pick up my call. All he said was, 'I didn't do it.'" Speaking up to this point, Dark North Sage's mouth twitched. He was speechless. "Bullsh asterisk T. You're just trying to expose yourself. We haven't even started asking, and you're already saying that he didn't do it. You only know how to talk nonsense here." Patriarch Emptiness bared his teeth. The corners of the other patriarchs' mouths twitched. Their hearts were as clear as a mirror. Although it was just a short sentence, it had already revealed a lot of information. Wu Wudi was obviously Xia Ping, and he had really entered the abyss world. Interesting. What method did this kid use to resist the corrosion of the abyssal energy? The Xiaoyao ancestral master stroked his white beard curiously. If humans could master this ability, the threat of demons in the abyss would be greatly reduced. I don't know. Maybe he has some kind of artifact on him that can resist the erosion of the abyss, or maybe he's proficient in some kind of secret technique. However, I don't know where this little bastard has gone, so I'm afraid we'll have to wait a while before we can ask him. Dark North Saint guessed. "Forget it. This is just a small matter. How are your injuries, Biming?" Xiaoyao ancestral master stared at Dark North Saint. Although Dark North Saint authority was terrifying and he wouldn't die in battle, it didn't mean that his injuries would disappear. Instead, they would accumulate. Of course, compared to ordinary sages, Dark North Sage's ability to recover from injuries was naturally many times stronger. As long as it was not a fatal injury, it would be difficult for him to suffer much damage. Fortunately, I didn't receive any fatal injuries. I'll be able to recover after some time. Dark North Saint smiled faintly. That's good. The Xiaoyao ancestral master and the others heaved a sigh of relief because the war with the Abyss demons was imminent. If Dark North Saint died, it wouldn't be a good thing for the human clan. We still can't be careless. Dark North, go to the human clan's treasury and take some healing medicines to speed up your recovery. You need to stay in peak condition for the time being. Ancestor Kong Kong said in a deep voice. Yes. Dark North Saint nodded. At this moment, in the world of the classic of mountains and seas, Xiaoping sat cross-legged in one of the meditation rooms in the world of the classic of mountains and seas, cultivating. This time, he had acquired a large number of godstones from the Abyss, as well as abundant resources. He was now qualified to attempt a breakthrough into the Archean realm. In truth, he could sense that he was almost at the immemorial ancient state, full cultivation state right now. It was just like a pond that was filled with water that would spill out at any moment. Rumble. In an instant, Xiaoping immersed himself in cultivation. His soul communicated with the origin of the universe, and he felt as though his spirit was infinitely vast. He could sense the endless laws of creation in the depths of the void. The enormous amount of information and origin energy surged into the depths of his sea of consciousness as if they were free. Immediately, pieces of law of creation fragments rapidly formed in the depths of his sea of consciousness. In the end, 3,000 fragments of the law of creation appeared in the depths of his sea of consciousness, and he achieved perfection. Dong! Just as the law of creation reached the perfect state, Xiaoping discovered that his body, magic power, and soul all produced a strange vibration, causing the laws of the universe to resonate. He seemed to sense the endless black holes in the depths of the universe, and the end of the black holes seemed to be the white holes. The black holes devoured the endless power of pure yang, and the white holes spat out the endless power of pure yin. One black and one white, one yin and one yang, like the 8 trigrams of the universe, formed the chaos. Vaguely, Xiaoping felt the magic power in his body seemed to circulate along the path of the power of yin and yang. It kept vibrating, and the endless mysteries of the law circulated in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Walala, time law, space law, creation law, and many other laws started to circulate crazily, fusing into the domain of creation that spread out from his body. The domain of creation, which was originally illusory, was now condensed and completely solidified. It was as though from illusory to reality, from nothingness to existence, and formed the embryonic form of the world domain. However, this world was still empty. It was chaotic and nothing existed. It was filled with dead silence. Boom! In an instant, endless information of the law, magic power, and even soul and bloodline power gathered together, condensing rapidly and turning into a seed. This seed was the seed of the world. It was dark gold in color, and it released endless light. It was like a sun that lay across the empty world domain. With a crack, the seed of the world shattered, and a giant walked out from within. Its head reached the sky, and its feet stood on the ground. Its body emitted frightening ripples of the law, as though it was Pangu, who split the heavens and earth apart. The giant appeared in this world and let out a roar. A sky-splitting axe seemed to appear in its hand, and it fiercely chopped the world. Dong! In an instant, a terrifying cold light split the chaotic world in half. The chaotic world was instantly split, and it seemed to be divided into heaven and earth. Clear air rose to form the sky, and turbid air fell to form the earth. Endless chaotic air currents spread out in all directions, affecting the entire world. Walala, The giant that had created this world seemed to have completed its mission. The axe also exhausted all of its power. It collapsed on the ground. In an instant, the two eyeballs of the giant flew out. One turned into a sun, and the other turned into a moon, hanging in the sky. Its blood vessels formed rivers, densely covering every corner of this world, forming a dense network of water. Every inch of its skin turned into a mountain range, stretching out endlessly, crisscrossing majestic and majestic. Every strand of its hair turned into plants. Trees, weeds, and flowers grew all over the mountains. It was a verdant and lush scene. Every tendon was the land, its muscles were the soil, its hair was the stars, its fur was the plants, its teeth and bones were the stones, its essence was the pearls and jade, its sweat was the rain, and all the insects on its body were affected by the wind, turning into the least Sioux. The entire world seemed to have been formed at this moment. Is this the world laws, the world domain? Xiaoping's mind was immersed in the scene of the world being created. It was as though he had transformed from the creation laws into the world laws, grasping the power to create the world and comprehending the structure of the world. With his body as the center, a huge world domain took shape, covering an area of who knew how many light years. It was as though within the area covered by this world domain, all life was under his control and all the laws were unable to shake it in the slightest. It was as though he was the ruler of this world. Chapter 2788. No, that's not right. I haven't broken through completely. At that moment, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He realized that his powers and realm had not stabilized at all. He was still in the process of breaking through. If he was an ordinary ancient sage, forming a world would be considered a success. However, he was different. He cultivated the Panwu, true scripture, and had a total of 9 primordial spirits. In terms of soul power, he was at least 9 times stronger than ordinary ancient sages. The Panwu true scripture was naturally the top secret scripture in the universe. It could allow living beings to cultivate 9 primordial spirits. It was unheard of and allowed sages to master incredible soul power. However, it was also because of this that breaking through was not something ordinary sages could imagine. He had such powerful soul power and combat power that far surpassed sages of the same level. He had a total of 9 primordial spirits. Each primordial spirit would open up a world. Therefore, he needed to open up a total of 9 worlds in the depths of his sea of consciousness. It was also because of this that it was much harder for him to break through than ordinary ancient sages. Whether it was in terms of accumulating resources or understanding of laws, he needed to surpass ordinary ancient sages by more than 100 times. Otherwise, he would not have been able to break through from the immemorial ancient realm to the immemorial ancient realm. Fortunately, Xiaoping had many treasures on him. He had also plundered the treasure vault of the Abyss world and obtained a large number of divine stones. Otherwise, he would not have been able to support such a huge energy gap. Ordinary ancient sages like this would probably be stuck in this realm for millions of years. No, I can't stay in the world of the classic of mountains and seas to break through. I have to return to the real universe. The origin energy here is completely insufficient. Xiaoping sensed that the origin energy in the world of the classic of mountains and seas was completely insufficient. After all, the classic of mountains and seas was only a supreme sage artifact. Although it could communicate with the origin energy of the universe, it could not compare to having one's real body in the universe. There was a layer between them, and the efficiency of cultivation would be much slower. It might be enough to open up a world. However, he needed to open up a total of 9 worlds. The origin energy needed was not something the classic of mountains and seas could provide. He flashed and left the world of the classic of mountains and seas in an instant. Then, Xiaoping's body appeared in the universe's vacuum. He sat cross-legged in the vacuum and began to operate the powers in his body. He began to open up the worlds in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Whoosh, with Xiaoping's body as the center, the endless cosmic origin energy began to spin violently, as if forming an energy storm, spreading for hundreds of thousands of light years. When the spinning speed of the origin energy reached its limit, it turned into a gigantic black hole with a diameter of tens of thousands of light years. Under such a black hole, a terrifying devouring power was generated. The universe, origin, energy, and the laws of the universe were all swallowed up. The surrounding planets, even the continents, meteorites, and other things were completely devoured by this black hole. Nothing was left in the surrounding void of the universe. Everything was swept clean and disappeared without a trace. In fact, there was not just one black hole like this, but a total of 9 black holes with a diameter of tens of thousands of kilometers. 9 gigantic black holes lay across the void of the universe, lined up in a row. They were just like 9 incomparably huge dark suns standing side by side in the universe, emitting endless devouring power. This was like the most terrifying astronomical phenomenon in the universe. All the nearby continents, planets, meteorites, and other things were devoured by the black hole, leaving nothing behind. Vaguely, there seemed to be an indomitable giant in the center of each of the 9 huge black holes. At this moment, many living beings in the distance passed by this place. Separated by hundreds of thousands of light years, they saw this shocking scene, and all of them were dumbfounded. Of course, they were only in the outer region of the black hole and had no way of entering the inner region, nor could they see Xiaoping. After all, the outer region and the inner region were separated by hundreds of thousands of light years. Even if one walked at the speed of light, it would take hundreds of thousands of years. How could ordinary living beings see inside? Even ordinary sages would find it difficult to discover what was going on. Only an invincible sage might be able to discover something fishy if he unleashed his magical powers with all his might. Oh my God, what is this? Why are there 9 black holes in this place? Some people who passed by in spaceships were dumbfounded and shocked. Fortunately, they only passed by the outer region and did not get close. Otherwise, they would have been completely devoured like the nearby planets, continents, and meteorites, turning into dregs. What kind of cosmic phenomenon is this? 9 black holes standing side by side. This doesn't make sense. The group of people was in disbelief. They racked their brains and recalled all the astronomical knowledge they had learned in the past, but none of them corresponded to this astronomical phenomenon. Quick, let's leave quickly. This isn't an ordinary astronomical phenomenon. It's a sage cultivating. At the very least, he's an immemorial sage, or maybe even an invincible sage. An ordinary sage also passed by, and his expression changed drastically. He could feel that this world-shaking aura seemed to be able to devour everything. It was as though even if an immemorial sage were to approach this place, he would be devoured cleanly, leaving not even his bones behind. This was a magical power that was simply unimaginable to him. Just by looking at it from the outer region, he felt his heart palpitating, and a feeling of being invincible rose in his heart. He couldn't imagine that if such a sage attacked with all his might, he would be able to easily destroy a great 1,000 world. It can't be, right? It's a sage cultivating. What kind of sage could produce such a world-shaking phenomenon? Many people were incomparably curious. They had never seen such a phenomenon before. Moreover, this was actually an astronomical phenomenon produced by the cultivation of a sage. How shocking was this? F*CK. A bunch of trash. Why are you still talking nonsense here? What kind of sage is this? Why aren't you running away? Do you want to die? If we anger this sage who's cultivating, we'll all die. That ordinary sage cursed loudly. He wasn't a bunch of idiots. He naturally knew that if he stayed in the cultivation place of another sage for a long time, he would be seen as an enemy by the other sage who was plotting against him. This was a great taboo in cultivation. Therefore, he didn't want to stay in this place for too long, lest he was mistaken as an enemy by that terrifying sage and be smacked to death with a palm, turning into ashes just like that. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hearing these words, the people who passed by didn't dare to stay here. Of course, they knew that it was a taboo. They immediately didn't dare to continue watching the commotion and quickly retreated. Some sages who happened to pass by were also shocked when they saw this astonishing cosmic phenomenon. They also didn't dare to stay here for long, for fear of angering the terrifying sage who was cultivating in this place. Sogu website. Chapter 2789. The other place was where the angel headquarters was. At this moment, 3 invincible realm angels and many ancient angels gathered together. How was the trip to the Abyss world? Would the abyssal demon tree threaten Lord's existence? A primordial angel asked. The threat of the abyssal demon tree is indeed unusual, but it's impossible to threaten Lord, an invincible angel said. That's good. The other angels nodded. They also felt that this was a matter of course. After all, their master was a supreme existence, and no creature could threaten their master. It was just an abyssal demon tree. In the eyes of other living beings, it was an extremely troublesome creature, but in front of the Lord, it was nothing. But the threat of the human clan is no small matter, especially the North Sea saint who shone brilliantly this time. This person has just been promoted to the invincible realm not long ago, but he can actually hold back the legendary Devil Lord and come back alive. It's really incredible, the invincible angel said in a deep voice. Dark North Saint? This person is indeed extraordinary. I paid attention to him at the beginning and even tried to make him believe in Lord. Unfortunately, I failed. Another invincible angel said regretfully. It said that it had once used a plan to make this Dark North Saint fall into a situation of certain death and force him to believe in Lord. Unfortunately, that plan still failed. It's not just Dark North Saint. There's also his disciple Xiaoping. He seems to be a hidden monster. He's called the peerless monster of the human race in billions of eras. Though he's still young and only at the immortal realm, he'll be a huge threat in the future. An angel said, besides the immortal Saint Xiaoping, there's also the ancient Saint Gurulai, even the Fengdu Saint who killed many of our angels and ruined our plan. They're all big threats. An ancient angel clenched his fist, murderous. The potential of the human race is too great. This race is a huge problem for us to spread our faith. We should take advantage of the invasion of the Abyss Demon Clan to get rid of them. Indeed, this race has many peerless geniuses. We can't underestimate them. In time, they might become a big problem for us and ruin our plan. Seems like we really need to get rid of the human race. The angels discussed among themselves. No, the Lord wants to get rid of the higher-ups of the human race. Those humans are still superior lambs. If they can be tamed, they will definitely bring great faith to the Lord. An invincible saint said, so that's how it is. As expected of the Lord, he has great foresight. Humans indeed have great potential. If we can subdue them, they will naturally be a great help to our angel clan in the future. Indeed, as long as we kill the upper echelons of the human race and kill all the saints of the human race will naturally be at our mercy. Those lowly humans will not be able to withstand the attacks of our angel race. Seconded. Many angels could not help but nod. They had quickly reached a consensus. As long as they got rid of those human saints, the human race would naturally be easily enslaved by them. Suddenly, one of the invincible angels felt his heart skip a beat as his expression changed. What's wrong? Ludwig, Goebbels, an invincible realm angel next to him, asked. He noticed the change in his companion's expression. Goebbels, the aura of the Saint of Fengdu of the human race who destroyed the plan of our angel clan for hundreds of millions of years, seems to have appeared in the modern universe again. Invincible Angel Ludwig said in a low voice. The invincible Angel Ludwig said in a low voice. He gently pointed his finger, as if he had sensed Xia Ping's aura coming from a certain corner of the universe. And the aura on his body seems to be continuously strengthening, as if he is advancing from the immemorial ancient realm to the immemorial ancient realm. His power is transforming, Ludwig said in a low voice. He actually appeared in the modern universe again. Could it be that he came out from some secret realm of the universe? And he even advanced from the immemorial ancient realm to the immemorial ancient realm. How can his improvement speed be so fast? Could it be that he reaped great rewards from this trip to the secret realm of the universe? The remaining invincible realm angel, Helmet, revealed a cold gleam in his eyes. He was filled with murderous intent. He really cannot be underestimated. If this continues, I'm afraid we really won't be able to do anything to this human. The improvement of humans is really fast. On the surface, he seemed to be praising the saint of Fiend, but all the angels could sense the extreme murderous intent on him. He was about to lose control of it. Because the stronger the enemy of the angel clan was, the faster he improved. It proved that the angel clan was in more trouble. Then, their determination to kill the saint of Fiend would be stronger. Helmet, I don't think this is strange. The invincible realm angel, Goebbels, narrowed his eyes. This human has received the inheritance of the god of war. No one knows how many treasures there are in that place. It's normal for his strength to improve by leaps and bounds. If we don't stop him, I have no doubt that this human will soon advance to the invincible realm or even become a god. After all, the name of the god of war was famous in the last era of the universe. He was one of the powerful gods and should not be underestimated. He thought that it was normal for the human to improve by leaps and bounds in a short period of time after receiving the inheritance of the god of war. If there was no such gain, how could the angel clan be willing to spend billions of years just to get the inheritance of the god of war? There is even an invincible realm angel who died in the relic of the gods. With such a gain, they were willing to pay such a price. In that case, we can't let this human continue to live. Even if we fall out with the human clan, we have to kill this human. The human clan will not allow a new invincible realm saint to appear in a short period of time. The invincible realm angel, Helmet, clenched his fists. Where is the human? The angel, Goebbels, asked. The distance is quite far, and the signal is vague. But after 7 days, we should be able to accurately find the specific location of the human saint of Fiend. Endless data flashed in the depths of the angel Ludwig's pupils. Dense information flashed, as if he was calculating the specific location of the saint of Fiend. That's good. Let's go. With 3 invincible realm saints attacking, this kid will definitely die. Not to mention that he is only an ancient saint. Even if he really advanced to the primordial saint, he will definitely die this time. We have to be careful of the rescue of the other human saints. If we alarm them this time, I'm afraid there won't be a next time. Don't worry, I will block the void during the battle. I will never let this news get out. Let's go and kill the saint of Fiend. The 3 invincible realm angels flashed and instantly left the headquarters of the angel clan. Chapter 2790. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, a few days passed. At this moment, the 9 black holes in the void finally disappeared. Dawn. At this moment, Xiaoping, who had been in seclusion, woke up. He opened his eyes, and a terrifying aura burst forth, as though he could see through the endless secrets of the void. With just a single look, it was as though all the secrets in the world could not escape his eyes. I've succeeded. I've finally reached the early stage of the archaic realm and comprehended the laws of the world. Xiaoping smiled faintly, feeling extremely excited. After such a long period of cultivation, he had finally broken through the immemorial ancient realm and reached the archaic ancient realm, comprehending the laws of the world. After reaching the archaic ancient realm, the 9 primordial spirits in his sea of consciousness first evolved, splitting the sky and earth, forming 9 worlds deep within his sea of consciousness. One world was a world of lightning. Everywhere was filled with the power of the laws of lightning. Endless lightning flickered incessantly in this world. The pure power of lightning formed mountain ranges, oceans, rivers, and even all sorts of lightning plants. There were even quite a few lightning creatures born in this world. The second world was the flame world. This world was filled with the enormous power of the infernal golden crow's flames. There are also all sorts of heavenly flames, such as the earth heart flame, the drought demon flame, the life flame, the Buddhist karmic flame, the angel flame, the dragon flame, the star flame, and so on. These endless flames turned into mountains, rivers, and other environments. There were also countless fire creatures and even fire spirits. The third world was the astral world. This world gave birth to countless planets, and it was like a small universe. Countless planets were densely packed together, filled with dense astral energy, and emitted an azure light. The fourth world was the Sky Dragon world. This world was filled with the aura of dragons, containing the thick power of the ancestral dragon. It was as though many sky dragons were born and roamed in the sky. The fifth world was the kingdom of Buddha. It was filled with golden light, and there seemed to be many Buddhas standing there, chanting scriptures. Endless Buddhist runes flickered, and it was like a pure land of Buddhism. Under the chanting of these Buddhas, a strong power of Buddha was born, as though it could purify all living beings. The sixth world was the divine elephant world. There were countless divine elephants in this world, and every single one of them was huge. They stretched across the starry sky, as if they were giant beasts born in the universe. Every divine elephant contained terrifying divine elephant power. Densely packed laws of power appeared around their bodies. That was the purest form of violence, incomparably tyrannical. Furthermore, each divine elephant seemed to be carrying a world on its back as it slowly walked through the chaotic void. The seventh world was the Hell world. There were black volcanoes everywhere, spewing out thick smoke and lava from time to time, and the air was filled with the smell of sulfur. Terrifying demons walked in the Hell world, and endless evil spirits and vengeful spirits wandered here. The world was filled with the evil of the world and boundless negative energy. The eighth world was the world of devouring, and it looked like a terrifying Tao-Tai. When it opened its mouth, it was like a massive black hole, continuously devouring everything in the world. All matter would be completely digested and refined into dust. The ninth world was the plant world. There were countless plants growing there, and they gave off dense life force. At the center, there was a world tree that stretched across all worlds, symbolizing the exuberant life force. These 9 worlds were created by Xia Ping's body and were formed from his 9 essence spirits. Is this the power of the world? Xia Ping clenched his fists and channeled the tremendous power within his body. He could feel a strong power being born within his body, flowing through his meridians, acupuncture points, and even every single cell within his body. This power was different from the power of creation. It was a higher level of power that was fused with the laws of time, space, creation, undying chi, etc. When all of them were fused together, the power of the world was born. One could say that a single strand of the power of the world could easily destroy hundreds of strands of the power of creation. In terms of quality, the power of creation could not be compared to the power of the world at all. Dong! In the blink of an eye, Xia Ping slammed out with a punch. The tremendous power of the world within his body gathered together, and the void before him exploded instantly. A gigantic black hole appeared, as though the entire universe was pierced through by his punch. Too strong. Xia Ping's eyes shone brightly as he was extremely excited. Even though he had fought with quite a number of ancient state beings in the past and had experienced how terrifying the power of the world was, how could it be compared to the comprehension he had gained from it? He felt as though he could casually clench his fist and throw out a punch. It was as though he could mobilize all the power of the great 1,000 worlds and explode it instantly, producing endless destructive power. How could any sage below the primordial realm withstand a punch that contained all the power of the great 1,000 worlds? To put it simply, the power of a primordial sage was equivalent to the aggregation of a great 1,000 world. As for ordinary primordial sages like Xia Ping, it was even more different. This was because he had 9 essence spirits that transformed into 9 worlds. It could be said that as long as he willed it, he could instantly mobilize all the power of the essence chi of the 9 worlds and blast it out. If such power were to explode, any primordial sage of the same level would instantly explode and turn into ashes. Not only have I given birth to the power of the world, but even the cells in my body have transformed. Xia Ping's consciousness seeped into every single cell in his body. Back when he was comprehending the laws of space, every single cell in his body had an additional strand of power of space, forming an independent space that could contain a massive amount of power. But now that he had leveled up to the primordial realm and comprehended the laws of the world, every single cell in his body had transformed. From the empty space, it had transformed into a mini-world. One could say that the countless cells in his body represented the countless mini-worlds. Even if the size of each cell were to expand by just a little, the amount of power of the world that they could contain was still extremely shocking. It was a power that the primordial sages could not even imagine. Is this the power that a primordial sage possesses? No wonder he's the strongest in the primordial realm, a top powerhouse that is only inferior to the invincible sages. The richness of this power is simply unbelievable. Xiaoping could not help but exclaim out. After leveling up to the primordial realm, he realized how strong a primordial sage was. It was far beyond the primordial sages. They were not even on the same level. He also realized that he could kill a primordial sage when he was at the immemorial ancient state. Just how monstrous was this? It was simply unheard of. No wonder the other sages were so shocked when they found out about this. Evidently, the ordinary primordial sages knew how unbelievable this was. Chapter 2791. The Golden Crow of Hell bloodline has also become more powerful. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He found that after advancing to the archaic realm, his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. At the same time, the Golden Crow of Hell cells in his body were also awakening crazily from the previous 3 trillion cells to 5 trillion cells, which was 5 trillion cells. It could be said that the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline in his body had awakened more than 70% of its previous awakening. It seemed that with a single thought, the Golden Crow of Hell flames in his body began to burn, forming a hellish sun that burned everything. The power of the divine sense has also expanded. Xiaoping immersed his mind into the sea of consciousness, and with his body as the center, circles of the power of the divine sense spread out, spreading in all directions of the void of the universe. At this moment, the coverage of his divine sense had reached a range of 10 million light years, and it was much more powerful than before. It seemed that just the power of the soul alone could easily kill an ordinary saint. Due to the increase in the power of the soul, his illusory power had also increased. From the previous 100 worlds with a single thought, he could now generate 500 worlds with a single thought. This was not only an increase in quantity, but also in quality. His illusory power had reached an extremely powerful level, and he was afraid that it could affect the saints of the invincible realm. After advancing to the archaic realm, his strength had improved in all aspects. Beep beep, at this moment, the system's voice sounded. Congratulations, host. Because of the host's actions, you have aroused the hatred of a large number of demons in the abyss world, aroused their monstrous anger, and obtained a large number of hatred points. This time, you have obtained a total of 3,200 hatred crystals. I hope the host can continue to work hard. What? Hearing this, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He also knew that this time, he would definitely arouse a huge amount of hatred from the abyss world, but he did not expect to obtain 3,200 hatred crystals. This was simply an astronomical amount of money. He didn't seem to have obtained so many hatred crystals before. He was afraid that he had underestimated his actions this time. After all, he had seized the accumulation of the abyss world for hundreds of millions of years. As the saying went, taking people's wealth was like killing their parents. Moreover, the treasures inside were obtained by these demons in some extremely dangerous places in the abyss world after spending a lot of time and effort. Some treasures were even gone once they were lost. These were resources that could not be renewable. But now, Xiaoping had wiped them all out. Not only had he destroyed their many years of hard work, but he had also severely damaged the battle potential of the abyssal demons, destroying part of their plans. The hatred of these abyssal demons could be imagined. They simply wished for nothing more than to tear Xiaoping into 1,000 pieces and even annihilate his entire clan. It would be strange if they didn't have such hatred. By the way, the hatred crystals on me have already reached 9,800. Now that I've obtained 3,200 hatred crystals, Wouldn't it be over 10,000 in total? Xiaoping's eyes lit up all of a sudden. After reaching 10,000 hatred crystals, he would get a big gift from the system. That was why he would spare no effort to get hatred crystals and cause trouble everywhere. Now that he had obtained 13,000 hatred crystals, he had completely exceeded the system's rules. He would definitely be able to get a big gift from the system. Beep! Sure enough, at this moment, the system's voice sounded again. The host's hatred crystals have reached 10,000 hatred crystals, which meets the requirements of the system's gift to the host. Now, the system's gift is being transferred. Please check and receive it. Rumble. In an instant, Xiaoping sensed a huge amount of chaotic energy coming from the depths of his sea of consciousness. It was as if a dark wormhole had opened, and then something flew out from it. Xiaoping took a closer look and immediately saw an incomparably huge thing appearing in the depths of his sea of consciousness. It was a door, an incomparably huge door that was completely black. The door was engraved with densely packed patterns of birds and beasts, and it also contained endless evil spirits. It exuded a terrifying, dark, deep, and ancient aura. It was as if the evil spirits in the depths of this door could run out at any time, creating the night of 100 ghosts. The power of this door was not inferior to the Abyss Demon Gate and Southern Heavenly Gate that he had seen before. To a certain extent, it seemed to be stronger, more bizarre, and more unfathomable. Hell's Gate. In an instant, Xiaoping sensed the name of this door. It was the Hell's Gate. As the name suggested, this was the only gate that guarded hell. All evil spirits, demons, and demons had to go in and out of this place. It was this gate that guarded hell in all directions, preventing evil spirits from appearing in the human world. Of course, it also prevented people from the outside world from entering hell. Rumble. In the next second, Xiaoping's body trembled. His sea of consciousness received a majestic message from the Hell's Gate. Hell's Gate, divine weapon, status, growing, ability 1, indestructible. It has the characteristics of immortality. Even if it is destroyed countless times, it can still be reborn countless times. Even if the universe collapses, the Hell's Gate will not be destroyed. It can still be reborn from ashes. Ability 2, indestructible. It can absorb the endless power of the netherworld from the depths of hell. As long as it appears in hell, even demons will not be able to break its defense. As long as it doesn't want to open it, demons from the outside world will not be able to open the Hell's Gate. Only the Lord of Hell, or the token of the Lord of Hell, can open the Hell's Gate. Ability 3, devour evil spirits. Its power comes from the souls of hell. The stronger and higher the quality of the souls it devours, the more powerful it will be. All the evil spirits that it devours will become its soldiers and fight for it. Even if these evil spirits are destroyed, they will be reborn inside the Hell's Gate. They will be indestructible. Ability 4, Hell's Boundary. As long as the Hell's Gate exists, a huge Hell's Boundary will be formed. It can protect a part of the world. The only entrance and exit is the Hell's Gate. Without the permission of the Hell's Gate, other places cannot be breached. This is the Hell's Gate that is being reborn after being destroyed. Its growth rate is almost limitless. I hope the host can make good use of this divine weapon. The system said. Hell's Gate. Xiaoping sighed in amazement. He immediately thought of how to use the God Artifact. If he placed the God Artifact in the Hell of the Green Lotus, he could instantly fuse all the Hell planes around the Hell of the Green Lotus together and form a small Hell barrier. In this way, even if they were to face another attack from the Void monsters, they would probably not be able to break through the defense of the Hell's Gate. This would also make the defense of the high-level Hell planes like the Green Lotus Hell even stronger. There would be no need to worry about the Void monsters coming to attack. One had to admit that this was a top-notch divine weapon. Chapter 2792. Rumble. In practically an instant, Xiaoping had refined the Hell's Gate. Refining a God artifact was an incomparably difficult task. However, with the help of the system, it had become much easier. As soon as he refined the Gate of Hell, he immediately felt that the Gate of Hell seemed to come to life. The gate rapidly shrank, turning into the size of an ordinary human. Two cute eyes grew out of the two doors, and even two little feet grew out of the door frame. Then, it quickly transformed, turning into a little lowly wearing a black dress. She was 4 meters tall, and there was a gate engraved on her forehead, emitting a mysterious aura, as if it was a mark of the laws. You are my master? The gate of hell blinked its eyes and looked at Xiaoping timidly. That's right. What's your name? Xiaoping nodded. Looking at the gate of hell, he was a little speechless. Why were the artifact spirits of the gate of hell all lowly? Why? In an instant, the little lowly in black burst into tears. She cried so hard that she was heartbroken, but her cries were very terrifying, like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. It was as if there were billions of evil spirits crying in the depths of her body, feeling endless sorrow. With her body as the center, a series of terrifying sound waves were produced, shaking the void in all directions, cracking like glass. But the most terrifying thing was that her cries even penetrated the soul, as if it was pulling the soul into the depths of hell. Countless evil spirits crawled out from the depths of the void, constantly pulling his body. Don't cry. What are you crying for? I only asked for your name. Xiaoping's eyes widened, and he knocked the little lowly's head hard. If she continued to cry like this, he would probably cry himself to death. He could feel the terrifying power of the gate of hell. Just the sound of her cries was enough to kill countless sages. If he was not the master of the gate of hell, and was immune to the power of the gate of hell, such cries alone would probably be enough to seriously injure him. I forgot what my name is. After being knocked, the little lowly in black did not dare to cry anymore, but she was still sobbing. Her little face was red, and tears were rolling down her face. I see. Xiaoping was suddenly enlightened. Although Hell's Gate had the characteristic of being immortal and undying every time it died, it was equivalent to being reborn. Its previous memories would be wiped clean. Therefore, this Hell's Gate was equivalent to being reborn. She wouldn't remember anything that had happened before. Everything about her was still blank, just like a baby. Of course, compared to ordinary babies, she still knew a lot of things and some basic common sense. How about this? I'll give you a name. Since you love to cry so much, I'll call you Crybaby from now on. Xiaoping rolled his eyes and decided to give Hell's Gate a new name. No, I'm not a crybaby. Hearing this, the little lowly immediately protested. She widened her eyes and looked at Xiaoping angrily. She knew that this was not a good name at all. Then, I'll call you Little Gate. It's easy to understand. Xiaoping said, No, this name is too ugly. The little lowly in black forgot to cry. She felt that her master was too unreliable. His taste in naming things was too bad. Then let's call him a crybaby. Xiaoping touched his chin. Forget it, I'll call you Little Gate. This name is quite nice. The little lowly in black gave up, struggling. Compared to a crybaby, Little Gate was a good name. It was simple and easy to understand. Right? What abilities do you have? Xiaoping asked and looked at the little lowly. I can eat a lot. Hearing this, the little lowly in black said excitedly, No matter how many evil spirits there are, I can eat them all. To tell you the truth, no matter how many evil spirits you catch, I can easily eat them all. Right? I can sleep really well, and I can fall asleep right after I'm full. I won't wake up even if lightning strikes me. Her face was full of pride, revealing a look that said, Come and praise me. Why do you want to catch them? Can't you catch them too? Xiaoping's mouth twitched. What kind of advantage was this? She would sleep after eating and eat after sleeping. Wasn't she a pig? What kind of advantage was this? This Little Gate was embarrassed. The main reason is that my stamina isn't good and I'm not good at sports. I will pant after a few steps. I basically just stand there and wait for food. Right? I have another weakness. I'm afraid of pain. It's best if you kill all those evil spirits before sending them over. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to eat them. Also, I like to eat cooked ones. If they're too raw, they won't taste good. She made her own feeding request. Although she could eat a lot, she still had high requirements for food. She didn't eat everything. Stamina wasn't good. She was afraid of pain, She only knew how to eat all day and didn't even know how to exercise. She would pant after a few steps. What kind of divine weapon was this? Xiaoping gritted his teeth and his face twitched. To be honest, he thought that he had struck it rich after getting the Hell's Gate. After all, most of the divine weapons he got before, such as the Book of Life and Death, Reincarnation Brush, and War Horn, were damaged and their spirits were gone. This Hell's Gate could be considered a complete divine weapon. Although it was still growing, it was still complete and had a spirit. It should be a strong help. But looking at it now, this spirit was pure trash. As a defensive divine weapon, she was actually afraid of pain. What kind of defensive divine weapon was this? She wouldn't be so scared that she would immediately run away when the enemy attacked, right? No, she shouldn't be able to run away because her physical strength was not good. She would pant after a few steps. He had to raise such a guy. Who was the master? Could it be that she found a father to serve her? He felt that he had been cheated by the system. It actually sent such a trash. By the way, master, I have another advantage. My memory is not very good. I basically forget everything I say. I'm especially good at keeping secrets. If you have any secrets, you can tell me. Little Gate said excitedly. Forget it. You go back to the classic of mountains and seas world first. I'll look for you if there's anything. Xiaoping didn't want to talk anymore. He waved his hand and immediately sent the Hell's Gate back to the classic of mountains and seas world. Let this trash divine weapon stay in the classic of mountains and seas world to fend for itself. However, Azure Ox and Corinne were extremely excited. Their faces were flushed. Heavens, is this the legendary artifact Spirit of a God artifact? It's really incredible. Perfect, it's really perfect. It's worthy of being the end of magic weapons. It's the realm that we yearn for even in our dreams. She looks no different from an ordinary life. Observe carefully. Maybe we can also find a way to promote to a divine weapon. Corinne and Azure Ox were both extremely excited. The two of them completely regarded the Hell's Gate as a senior. She was the best reference. Maybe they could get the opportunity to break through from it. Sogu Reading Website. Chapter 2793. By the way, I seem to have some divine artifact fragments with me. At this moment, Xiaoping remembered the large number of divine artifact fragments he had obtained in the Abyss world. Some of the fragments could be combined into a complete divine artifact. However, due to various things before, he had temporarily put aside. He did not know what kind of divine artifact fragments could be combined into. He hoped that it would not be too much of a scam. Swoosh! Thinking of this, Xiaoping waved his hand and took out many divine artifact fragments at once. Whoosh! In an instant, the divine artifact fragments gathered together and seemed to have an instinctive reaction. Like memory metal, they automatically healed themselves without anyone controlling them at all. Originally, there were huge cracks between the fragments, but after they fused together, the cracks disappeared as if they had never been there. In just a moment, the divine artifact fragments had completely fused together and formed a whole. He fixed his eyes on it and saw that it was a huge purple hammer. The purple hammer was engraved with dense patterns of the law of thunder. It seemed to contain complete thunder source energy deep inside, emitting a terrifying aura of destruction. A hammer. Xiaoping was speechless. He did not expect the divine artifact fragments to form a hammer after stacking together. However, just by sensing the aura emitted by the hammer, he could prove that the divine artifact was not simple. It must be a powerful divine artifact that seemed to have unparalleled destructive power. Even after going through great damage, the hammer still emitted a terrifying aura, as if it was a divine artifact in its heyday. Unfortunately, without the existence of an artifact spirit, it would probably have died long ago. Even so, this divine artifact should not be underestimated. In terms of power alone, it probably surpassed the level of a supreme divine artifact. Boom! Thinking of this, Xiaoping did not hesitate. He operated the massive world power in his body and immediately poured it into the hammer. His powerful soul power seeped into the depths of the hammer's core in an attempt to refine it. Whoosh! In an instant, the hammer produced a massive devouring power. Like dew after a long drought, it greedily devoured the endless world power in Xiaoping's body. It was as if the power of the world was making up for the lack of origin energy in his body. Fortunately, Xiaoping's dermic powers were boundless. Even the dermic powers that his soul possessed exceeded that of ordinary primordial sages by more than 20 times. Not to mention the fact that he had 9 primordial spirits on him. The power of the world they contained was simply terrifying and boundless. It could barely support the speed at which the hammer was devouring the power of the world. At the same time, because this hammer had long since lost its master, Xiaoping's refining process was extremely smooth. His soul strength instantly seeped into the core of the hammer. It seemed to be a crystallization of the laws of lightning. It was hexagonal in shape, like a purple crystal, and emitted dense lightning origin energy. Dong! In the next second, Xiaoping's body shook as if he had been struck by lightning. He sensed that his soul power had instantly refined the hammer, and he had gained control of the core of the hammer. Suddenly, a huge amount of lightning origin energy swarmed into his body as if it was free. The energy of each lightning origin energy was terrifying and boundless, as if it could split the void of the universe in half. Fortunately, he did not know how many times he had been struck by the thunder tribulation. He had gotten used to it as he was struck and even formed a special thunder physique. Otherwise, if he had received so much lightning origin energy at once, he would probably have been electrocuted. The name of this divine artifact is Mjolnir's hammer. Xiaoping's eyes widened. He immediately obtained specific information about this divine artifact from the depths of the giant hammer's core. This divine artifact was called Mjolnir's hammer. In the previous universe, this divine artifact seemed to have been controlled by Mjolnir. The other party had mastered the power of the laws of lightning and was a powerful god. Unfortunately, the Mjolnir had died during the twilight of the gods, and even the Mjolnir in its hand had shattered. However, due to the immortal characteristics of Mjolnir's hammer, even if it had shattered into countless pieces, if all the fragments of the divine artifact were gathered, it could still be restored to its original state. Unfortunately, compared to its heyday, Mjolnir's current strength was less than 1/10 of its original strength. It would probably take a long time for it to recover to its heyday's power. After all, the damage caused by the laws of origin energy could not be easily recovered. What a powerful lightning force! Xiaoping immediately grabbed the huge Mjolnir's hammer. Originally, this Mjolnir's hammer was extremely heavy. Even ordinary sages would find it difficult to lift it. It was many times heavier than a star. It was said that the material used to refine this Mjolnir's hammer was star iron. This was a special, or that could only be produced in the depths of the core of every planet. After hundreds of millions of years of pressure from the mantle movement and the erosion of the power of the stars, it could only be produced. Could only be produced on large planets, and each planet weighed less than half a kilogram. To refine such a Mjolnir's hammer, who knew how much star iron and how many resources would have to be used? Perhaps even an invincible sage would not be able to support it, even if he were to go bankrupt. Only gods could be so extravagant as to use all their resources to create a divine artifact. Therefore, one could imagine the weight of this Mjolnir's hammer. It was definitely not something that could be easily lifted. However, after Xiaoping refined the Mjolnir's hammer, he found that his mind and the Mjolnir's hammer had become one. This huge hammer was simply as light as a feather, and he could easily swing it. Furthermore, every time he waved it, it would create a terrifying destructive power. If the hammer were to smash down lightly, even a planet would probably be destroyed. Dong! In an instant, Xiaoping circulated the power of the world in his body and infused it into the Mjolnir's hammer. He gently hammered at the void in front of him. Suddenly, countless lightning laws on the Mjolnir's hammer lit up. Countless tiny purple thunderbolts gathered together and finally fused into a terrifying purple thunderbolt. Boom! This purple thunderbolt blasted out and instantly tore the void in this part of the universe. A spatial crack that spanned billions of kilometers appeared, and the crack meandered. What a powerful force! Xiaoping was extremely excited. He could feel the power of this divine artifact. Just now, he had only used a portion of his power, but after being converted by the Mjolnir's hammer, he had activated the support of the source of lightning and increased the damage by more than 10 times. It could be said that using this divine artifact, he could use the smallest amount of power to cause great damage. Of course, the most important thing was that he had advanced to the archaic realm. His body was filled with the power of the world. Using the power of the world to activate the divine artifact was many times more efficient than using the power of creation. This was like a bicycle suddenly evolving into a plane. This was a qualitative improvement. Soga website, chapter 2794. In fact, this was the decisive difference between an ancient saint and an ancient saint. If an ancient saint could only utilize 10% of the artifact's power, then an ancient saint could utilize 20%. Just looking at the efficiency alone, it was unknown how many times it had improved. Not to mention, the ancient saint's comprehension of the world's laws had caused his body to undergo earth-shattering changes, allowing his body to produce a world esper that could contain a huge amount of world force. What a great weapon! Xiaoping was excited. Holding Mjolnir in his hand, he felt that with Mjolnir in his hand, he could easily defeat any enemy. This artifact could increase his combat strength by more than 10 times. Beep! Just then, the system's voice rang out again. Warning, warning, warning. There are 3 invincible sages of the angel race rushing towards the host location. They will arrive in 10 minutes. Host, please be prepared to defend against the enemy. These 3 invincible sages of the angel race have an intense killing intent towards the host. They will not rest until one of them is dead. What? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. What is going on? Why did you only warn me when the enemy is so close? He didn't expect that he would be chased by the angel race not long after he advanced to the immemorial realm. Although he did bring a lot of trouble to the angel race last time, he didn't expect them to hate him to this extent. In order to kill him, they even sent out invincible saints. How highly did he think of him? The angel race's headquarters is very special. There's a mysterious force that interferes with the system's perception. Only when these invincible saints leave the headquarters can the system sense the hatred of these angels. The system continued. Plus, the host is in the critical period of breaking through to the immemorial saint realm and cannot be disturbed. Otherwise, all the previous efforts might be wasted. Thus, this reminder will be delayed. Host, please be prepared immediately. This time, it's not a small matter. Angel Race's headquarters. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He was getting more and more curious about the headquarters. What kind of place could allow such an incredible treasure like the system to block it? This isn't something ordinary people can do. To be honest, the mysteriousness of the angel race's headquarters could be ranked in the top 3 in the universe, on par with Gaia Paradise and other places. No one knew where the angels lived. Some people asked the angels, but the angels always said they lived in heaven. Forget it. 3 invincible saints? It's also a good opportunity to test my current strength. Xiaoping clenched his fists. If he hadn't broken through to the archaic realm, he would have immediately fled into the hellish realm to lie low for a while. However, things were different now. He had broken through to the Archean realm, comprehended the laws of the world, grasped world energy, and possessed a god artifact to protect him. His battle prowess had risen by who knew how many times. Even if he could not defeat the 3 invincible sages this time, he would not die. After all, he had various methods to preserve his life. Therefore, he had no reason to retreat. He wanted to test the strength of these strongest people in the universe. He wanted to see if they were really as invincible as the legends said. Thinking of this, he revolved the world force in his body and swallowed the energy of the universe origin source. In a few breaths of time, his essence, energy, and spirit had recovered to its peak state. Rumble, in an instant, a few minutes later, with Xiaoping's body as the center, the area within a range of several tens of thousands of light years was enveloped by a terrifying power. It covered this part of the universe's void, forming an absolute domain. Densely packed angel runes seemed to appear in the depths of this part of the universe's void. They turned into many angel restrictions, forming a total of 1,800 densely packed angel restrictions that sealed off the universe's void. Under the seal of such angel restrictions, this place had become an absolute domain of heaven. No living creature would be able to escape from this space-time sealed off by the angels. Even the universe virtual network was completely cut off, making it impossible to send any information out. Boom! In the next second, the void in front of him split open, and an angel's gate appeared, emitting boundless holy light. It was as if it had become a sun, illuminating this dark part of the universe's vacuum. Wherever the angel's light went, all darkness would retreat. It was as if this place had become an eternal heaven, emitting scorching angel's light. Following this, from the depths of the angel's gate, 3 powerful demigod angels walked out. There was a golden halo above their heads. That was the angel's wisdom halo, a symbol of one's comprehension of the universe's origin laws to the extreme. Their bodies were extremely huge, larger than a star. There were also 12 pairs of angel wings on their backs. When a single wing was gently spread out, it seemed as if it could envelop an entire planet. Densely packed, white feathers grew on each pair of angel wings. They were extremely pure, without any impurities, and they contained extremely pure angel power. It was as if any of the angel feathers that fell would transform into a world of heaven, purifying all impurities. Their eyes were also cold and emotionless, just like machines. No one could read any emotions from their eyes. It was as if they had reached a realm of emptiness, neither falsehood nor emptiness. Amazing. Xiaoping's pupils constricted. Even though he had been constantly overestimating the strength of demigod experts, the instant these 3 angel demigod experts appeared, they still brought him immense pressure. The universe's void in all directions seemed to have collapsed. Even light rays were distorted, forming densely packed void cracks. This was different from the human race patriarchs he had seen before. Back then, the human race patriarchs had been kind and had even restrained their auras. But now, these 3 angel demigod experts were different. They had come with killing intent, and they did not conceal it at all. The difference was simply unimaginable. The instant these 3 demigod angels appeared, with their bodies as the center, a terrifying angel domain was produced. It was as if just by standing opposite them, they could rely on that vast, boundless, unparalleled angel power to crush all matter in this universe into dust. Even if it was a planet, they could easily shatter it into powder, causing the void of the universe to collapse in all directions, forming terrifying black holes. Their every move, every word, and every action contained heavenly might, representing the operation of the universe's origin laws. They could easily mobilize boundless origin energy. Even their bodies themselves were like miniature universes, as if they had already formed complete universe laws. They were independent of the universe, as if they were experts that had transcended the 3 realms. These were demigods, supreme experts that were closest to gods. They were also the strongest experts in the universe at present. Chapter 2795. Human Fiend. In an instant, the 3 demigod angels appeared in front of Xiaoping. They looked down arrogantly, as if no life in the world was worthy of their attention. Their golden eyes were filled with disregard for life. It was as if they were the workings of the heavens, high and mighty. The archangels of the angel race actually came out together. They really think highly of Fiend. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows and looked at the 3 demigod angels. You have the right to do so. Archangel Ludwig looked at Xiaoping indifferently. To be able to advance by leaps and bounds in such a short time and reach the archaic realm, I dare not say that there will be no one in the future, but it is definitely unprecedented. Also, you have obtained the inheritance of the god of war from the previous universe era. In the future, you will definitely stand at the peak of the universe. It is normal for us angels to treat someone like you with great caution. He looked at Xiaoping as if it was a matter of course. In order to kill the enemy of the angel race, the highest level angels of the angel race had come out directly to ensure that nothing would go wrong. If this still failed, then the angel race really wouldn't be able to do anything to this kid. Human Fiend, Archangel Goebbels, will only give you two choices. Archangel Goebbels looked at Xia Ping with a cold glint in his eyes. The first choice is to believe in my Lord, join my race, and become a loyal servant of my Lord. The second choice is to die and be destroyed in this world forever, turning into cosmic dust. These two choices: submit or die. What do you choose? He directly gave Xia Ping two choices. It was extremely overbearing. You only have 3 breaths of time to consider. After 3 breaths of time, if you don't surrender, you will die. The remaining Archangel helmet was filled with killing intent. He only gave Xia Ping 3 breaths of time to consider. Scram! Xia Ping only replied with one word. He looked at the 3 demigod angels indifferently. Did they think that just a few words could make him submit? Angel dogs, they were dreaming. Putting aside the fact that these 3 demigod angels might not be able to kill him, even if they really had the strength to kill him, he wouldn't submit to these angels. I see. Since you've already made your decision, then die. As soon as he finished speaking, Archangel Ludwig's eyes flashed with a cold glint. He grabbed with his hand and instantly took out a huge snow-white spear. A peerless saint artifact, the Judgment Spear. This Judgment Spear had once appeared in the secret realm of Sound Pattern Mountain and brought Xia Ping a lot of trouble. However, at that time, it was only in the hands of an ancient saint. Now, it was in the hands of a demigod powerhouse. It could be said that the pressure on Xia Ping was completely different. After all, he had completely comprehended the laws of life and death after reaching the invincible saint realm. He had mastered the power of life and death within his body, allowing him to unleash the full power of a peerless saint artifact. It was as if an invincible sword had fallen into the hands of an invincible swordsman. The power it could display was simply incomparable to that of the previous swordsman. Sinner, the Lord has said that he will bring you the judgment of death. Fall. Archangel Ludwig circulated the power of life and death in his body and infused it into the Judgment Spear. Immediately, all the runes within the Judgment Spear appeared, like a supreme scripture. In the blink of an eye, the Judgment Spear erupted with a scorching white light of judgment. It seemed to completely penetrate the vacuum of the universe, wiping out all sins. Even if it was a great thousand world, facing such a light of judgment, it could easily shatter the great thousand world and bring about a doomsday-like disaster. Clearly, Archangel Ludwig was not joking, nor did he have any intention of holding back. He attacked with all his strength, intending to kill Xia Ping in the vacuum of the universe. He would definitely not give Xia Ping any chance to escape. Swish! In the next second, this terrifying light of judgment blasted out, forming a giant pillar with a diameter of several light years. It came crashing down, and everything in its path was reduced to ashes. This area of the universe had long been sealed by the Angel Clan's restriction formation. All the fluctuations of the battle could not be transmitted out. Therefore, no matter how intense the battle was in this area, it would not attract the attention of the other saints. This was also the reason why the 3 demigod-level angels had made a lot of preparations to kill Xia Ping. Their goal was to make sure that Xia Ping would not have any chance of being rescued by the other invincible saints. Thunder God's Hammer Lightning Punishment. At that moment, Xia Ping also made his move. He took out the God of Thunder God's Hammer that he had just obtained. Although he had just obtained this God of Thunder God's Hammer, it could already play an important role. He mobilized the world power in his body and infused it into the God of Thunder God's Hammer. Suddenly, countless laws of thunder in the depths of the God of Thunder God's Hammer flashed, and the endless power of thunder gathered together, suddenly forming a purple power of thunder punishment. It was as if the God of Thunder had come to the world, controlling the thunder punishment to punish mortals or even gods. Swish! A huge purple power of thunder punishment that was not inferior to the light of judgment blasted out, blasting toward Archangel Ludwig. It was tit for tat, not giving in at all. Boom! In an instant, The power of the thunder punishment and the light of judgment collided with each other. It was like a needle colliding with a wheat awn, producing a terrifying destructive power. The void of the universe in all directions shattered, creating cracks in the void like a spider web. What? Archangel Ludwig's expression changed greatly, simply unable to believe it. He sensed that the light of judgment that he had cast not only did not kill the human saint of Fiend, but had even been blocked. No, it was not as simple as just blocking it. The power of judgment that he had blasted out could not withstand the power of thunder punishment, and was continuously pushed back, all of the power of judgment being crushed. Not good. With a boom, Archangel Ludwig was caught off guard. His angelic body was hit by the power of thunder punishment from the god of thunder god's hammer, and his entire body was sent flying tens of millions of kilometers away. His entire body was surrounded by the crackling power of thunder, almost electrocuting him on the inside. The terrifying power of thunder punishment even drilled into his body, trying to destroy his internal organs. If he had been an ordinary saint, that attack would probably have been enough to seriously injure him. However, he was Archangel Ludwig, a demigod powerhouse who had comprehended the laws of life and death. Naturally, he would not be injured so easily. He channeled the power of life and death in his body, and in a breath's time, he expelled the power of thunder punishment. Even the injuries on his body were instantly healed. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he probably would not have known that he had been injured. Chapter 2796. This is the divine artifact, Mjolnir. How did it fall into your hands? Great Angel Ludwig's pupils shrank as he stared at the huge purple hammer in Xiaoping's hand. He could not hide the shock in his heart, because this was the famous divine artifact, Mjolnir. Even in the previous era of the universe, this divine artifact, Mjolnir, was still a famous magic treasure. In the hands of a powerful god, it was simply invincible. However, according to the rumors, this Mjolnir had long been destroyed. How did it appear in the hands of this human saint, Fiend? Is this one of the benefits you received after obtaining the inheritance of the god of war? No wonder you dare to be so arrogant. Do you think that you can compete with us angels with a divine artifact? Archangel Goebbels was filled with murderous intent, and his killing intent towards Xiaoping was boiling. Fortunately, they were extremely cautious and knew that even a lion would go all out to catch a rabbit. The three demigod angels had moved out together to besiege Xiaoping in order to make sure nothing went wrong. If they had been a little careless and sent the primordial angels to encircle Xiaoping, it would not have been an encirclement, but a suicide mission. After all, the power of a divine artifact was not to be underestimated. It was a treasure of a peak race. One could imagine how powerful it was. Even the angels did not have much power. Even if this Fiend saint was a little weak, with a divine artifact in hand, he would still be able to exert infinite combat power. Even demigod powerhouses would have to be careful. It's none of your business. Take my hammer first. Xiaoping could not be bothered to talk nonsense with these angels. With Mjolnir in hand, he was simply the reincarnation of the god of thunder. It seemed that he could easily communicate with the origin of thunder, and his magic power was integrated into the laws of thunder. Mjolnir, descent of lightning punishment. He was simply incomparably violent. Once again, the hammer blasted down, shaking time and space. It was as if the vacuum of the universe had completely exploded, producing infinite destructive power. But more importantly, tens of thousands of purple lightning punishments erupted from Mjolnir. Each purple lightning punishment was like a giant pillar that could easily penetrate the vacuum of the universe. Such thousands of purple lightning punishments crushed down, simply wanting to crush everything and annihilate the three angels in the vacuum of the universe. Arrogant. Seeing this scene, Archangel Goebbels angrily roared. He was both shocked and angry. This human was too arrogant. He clearly knew that they were three demigod angels, existences that had comprehended the laws of life and death. But now he actually wanted to fight the three of them alone, fighting a demigod as a primordial being. How arrogant was that? Did he really think that the three demigod angels were made of mud? Rumble, At that moment, it took out a supreme saint artifact. It was a snow-white saber that radiated with the boundless power of light, as if it was a supreme treasure born from the origin of light. It shone with a cold light that could slice through the world. This was the angel race's peerless sacred artifact, radiant world cleaving saber. This peerless saint artifact was an amalgamation of the laws of light. It contained the boundless power of light of the angel race, as well as the angel's origin energy. The sharpness that it erupted with was invincible. With such a slash, even a dozen or so greater thousand realms would be sliced in half. It could be said to be the strongest killing blade of the angel race. Kill! Archangel Goebbels held the radiant world cleaving saber in his hand. Boundless light radiated from his body, as if he had transformed into a sun of holy light, dispersing the boundless darkness. He slashed at Xia Ping, erupting with a terrifying white saber light that seemed to traverse dozens of light years, as if it was going to slice the entire star domain apart. Even under the shroud of this origin of light, there was no sorrow, no pain, no screams, only endless peace. Anyone who was struck by this saber did not die, but instead ascended to heaven. This was like a saber strike of redemption. Human Fiend, you must die today. The third demigod angel, Helmet, also made his move. He took out a huge golden bow that was engraved with dense golden angel inscriptions. This huge golden bow emitted a destructive aura that seemed to contain boundless destructive power. It was even more terrifying than the spear of judgment and the radiant world cleaving saber. It was born purely for destruction. This was the peerless sacred artifact of the angel race, the young divine bow. Once upon a time, an invincible saint had besieged the headquarters of the angel race. At that time, demigod Angel Helmet had taken out this peerless sacred artifact, the young divine bow, and shot an arrow at it, immediately severely injuring the invincible saint and forcing him to retreat 3 trillion kilometers. It could be said that this huge bow contained the dense angel origin power of the angel race. It was engraved with the law of killing, and it was indestructible. When the arrow was shot, it was like an explosion of the sun, erupting with boundless destructive power and destroying everything. Swoosh! In an instant, Archangel Helmet held the young divine bow in his hand and knocked an arrow. A golden energy arrow instantly shot towards Xia Ping, containing the power of destruction, piercing through everything. When this arrow was shot, even the scorching sun above the ninth heaven would be pierced and completely destroyed. Rumble! In the next second, Xia Ping blasted out the power of thunder punishment with Mjolnir, instantly colliding with Archangel Helmet's young divine bow and Archangel Goebbels' radiant world cleaving saber. These 3 destructive powers immediately collided like 3 suns colliding, producing unparalleled destructive power. Terrifying destructive waves spread out in all directions. At that moment, countless planets in this star field encountered such destructive waves and were instantly shaken into powder, disappearing into the vacuum of the universe. Fortunately, this was an uninhabited star field. Otherwise, who knew how many lives would have been lost? Dong! Xia Ping could not withstand such an impact. He was instantly sent flying by these destructive waves, retreating hundreds of millions of kilometers. It took a lot of effort for him to dissipate the destructive power. But even so, a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Clearly, this attack had injured him. Archangel Goebbels and Archangel Helmet did not fare well either. The 2 archangels were also retreating hundreds of millions of kilometers, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of their mouths. Clearly, they had also suffered injuries. However, such injuries were child's play, and they recovered in an instant. Human Fiend, you really live up to your name. As expected of the great enemy of my angel race. You're just an archaic saint, yet you can actually fight against us demigods to such an extent. Even if you have the advantage of a divine weapon, you can't deny that your strength is not to be underestimated. A powerhouse like you can only be a friend, not an enemy. If you become an enemy, we can only try our best to annihilate you. At that moment, the three demigods looked at Xia Ping with completely solemn gazes. They completely treated Xia Ping as an evenly matched opponent and would no longer underestimate him. Chapter 2797. Idiot, take my hammer. Xia Ping could not be bothered with what the three angels were saying. He circulated the world energy within his body and once again smashed out with his hammer. Instantly, this hammer contained a heaven-rending, earth-shattering power, and the destructive power was many times greater than before. There were hammer shadows in all directions, covering the star field and the three angels. It was as if the three angels and the star field were about to be completely hammered into smithereens. He could feel that he could easily mobilize the lightning source energy with Mjolnir in his hand. With 10% of his strength, he could unleash 10% or even 100% of his destructive power. Every hammer strike seemed to erupt with the size of star. Even if a planet were to be placed here, it would be easily smashed into pieces like glass. Not only could it mobilize the lightning source energy, but the hammer's destructive power also greatly increased the user's strength. This was the power of a divine artifact. A saint with a divine artifact could basically challenge someone of a higher level. However, divine artifacts were extremely rare. Even peak races would use them as their clan's Dharma treasures. They wouldn't use them casually. Most saints would be lucky to have a sage artifact. Furthermore, there were very few peerless sage artifacts. Fool! It looks like you still don't know the true gap between primordial saints and invincible saints. It's a huge gap that can't be changed even if you have a divine artifact. The three angels sneered. With a thought, a life and death domain erupted from their bodies, covering the universe's vacuum in all directions. The three domains even resonated with each other and fused together, producing a qualitative change. This wasn't as simple as 1 + 1. It was simply increasing their strength at a geometric speed. Dong! In an instant, Xia Ping's Mjolnir smashed into the three angels' life and death domain, producing an earth-shattering sound. Ripples appeared in the void and shook everywhere. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He could sense that his hammer didn't seem to cause any damage to the three angels. When the Mjolnir's power struck the other party's life and death domain, it was like it had fallen into a swamp. It couldn't shake them at all. What surprised him even more was that the power of his attack was being devoured by the three angels' life and death domains. They were constantly being used as their own. He could sense that the energy consumption of the three angels was rapidly increasing. It seems that you finally know some of the abilities of the invincible saint. Archangel Ludwig looked at Xia Ping calmly. Sages who have comprehended the laws of life and death have already grasped the power of life and death. They have comprehended the mysteries of the conversion between life and death, forming a balance between life and death. If the enemy's death power comes into contact with the life and death domain, it will instantly be converted into the life power in our bodies, continuously replenishing our magic power. At the same time, the life force in our bodies can also be quickly transformed into death force, which can be used to launch fierce attacks against the enemy. The transition between life and death has long made us invincible. What? Hearing these words, Xia Ping's pupil shrank. Although he had long known that the invincible saint was terrifyingly strong and could be called invincible in the universe, he did not know why the invincible saint could be called invincible in the universe, and no one could defeat him. At this moment, he finally understood some of the mysteries. A very important reason was the life and death domain and the tyrannical laws of life and death that the invincible saint possessed. For the invincible saints who had comprehended the mysteries of life and death, they had the ability to convert all the enemy's attacks into life power and then replenish their own energy consumption. In this way, which saint in the world could defeat them? Even if there were more saints attacking together, it would be useless. This was because the transition between life and death was like the great shift of heaven and earth. The invincible saint could easily reflect the enemy's attacks back at them. On the contrary, the more enemies there were, the more terrifying the combat power of the invincible saint would be. The magic power in their bodies was simply endless. Even if they fought for billions of eras, the magic power in their bodies would not be consumed much. Instead, it would become more and more powerful. To kill an invincible saint, unless one could instantly break the balance between life and death and break the boundary between life and death, it would be impossible to kill an invincible saint. Apart from this, the invincible saints who had comprehended the laws of life and death could even pull out the souls of the dead from the river of fate and resurrect them, reversing the power of life and death. However, even with the strength of an invincible saint, they could only resurrect life forms below the saint level. Life forms above the immortal saint level basically could not be resurrected. This was because resurrecting the dead was a taboo in the universe. One would suffer the backlash of the universe's origin. The more powerful the resurrection, the more severe the backlash. If one wanted to resurrect an immortal saint, the invincible saint would probably die from the backlash of the universe's origin in an instant. No one could save him. Even if one wanted to resurrect a mortal in the lightning tribulation realm, the invincible saint would suffer unimaginable injuries. It would probably take billions of years for them to recover from their injuries. They would also be cut off from advancing further. Therefore, the invincible saints never used this ability. The gains did not make up for the losses. The laws of life and death. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. With just a single touch, he could sense the suffocating power of the invincible saint. The power of the laws that suppressed everything. If he did not have a divine artifact on him, he would probably have to run away. Even if he could temporarily contend with the invincible saint, it would be useless. The more the invincible saint fought, the stronger the invincible saint would become. Sooner or later, he would be completely suppressed. It could only be said that the invincible saint was worthy of the title of invincible saint. Just this strength alone was enough to suppress all the races in the universe. Having an invincible saint could guarantee that one's race would stand at the peak of the universe. It could be said that the invincible saint was the true key to suppressing the luck of the race. Ludwig, don't talk nonsense with this human. Just eliminate him. Let him know the true meaning of despair and the consequences of going against the angel race. Archangel Goebbels held the world's splitting blade of light in his hand. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Although they had long been in an invincible position, they were also afraid that a long delay would bring trouble. If they continued to delay, the human race's ancestors might discover something fishy. If the human race's ancestors arrived in time, then their plan this time would completely fail. The entire angel race would even incur the wrath of the human race. Therefore, this time, they had to finish this battle quickly. They had to kill the Fiend saint as soon as possible and then destroy his corpse. This way, the human race would not know who killed their primordial saint. Chapter 2798. For the sake of light, I shall slay all sinners, slay all existences that disrespect the Lord, slay all sins in the world, slay all darkness in the world. No sin, no filth shall be allowed to live in the light. Archangel Goebbels' face glowed with a holy light. He held the peerless saint artifact, the world's splitting blade of light, and the magic power on his body was raised to the extreme, reaching the level of shaking the void. When such a wave of magic power erupted, Xia Ping felt a burst of fear. It was as if a random burst of magic power could form a cosmic storm, sweeping in all directions. In fact, the power of an invincible saint was not limited to what was mentioned above. The real terror of an invincible saint was that they had control over the laws of time, space, creation, life and death, and so on. These laws that formed the foundation of the universe were integrated into one, condensing a small universe in their body. The result was obvious. The magic power contained in their body was so strong that it was frightening. Just the magic power fluctuations on their body could destroy countless worlds. Moreover, the small universe in their body had already formed a balance, self-contained, and endless. The domain of an invincible saint crushed over, just like a small universe suppressing over. The weaker saints would be instantly suppressed and unable to move, unable to use any power of laws. In fact, an invincible saint could easily suppress all the saints below the primordial saint with just a thought, making it impossible for them to even struggle. The reason why the three archangels did not use such a domain to suppress Xiaoping was because Xiaoping had a divine artifact in his hand, which produced waves of tyrannical divine artifact fluctuations that could easily tear apart the domain power of an invincible saint, breaking through the restraint of the other party's domain laws. Otherwise, Xiaoping would be suppressed and completely killed in one move, unable to resist. Dong! In an instant, Archangel Goebbels made his move. He slashed towards Xiaoping with his saber, instantly erupting with billions of white saber lights of light. Each white saber light seemed to be able to slice this part of the universe in half. Wherever the power of light passed, all darkness was expelled. Hundreds of millions of lightsaber lights blasted over, forming a huge net of death that enveloped the universe's vacuum. It didn't give Xiaoping any space or opportunity to escape. In fact, every single blade of light contained the formidable power of the law of death. It was as if it could bring death to all living things and plunder all life force. If Xiaoping was struck by the saber, all of his life force would be sucked clean, and he would instantly become a dried corpse. His soul and flesh would wither, and he would die. The Lord says that you are guilty and must die. The great angel Ludwig held the spear of judgment in his hand, his body emitting a scorching light as if he was the source of infinite light itself. At that moment, he seemed to have transformed into the seraph closest to the Lord. It held the spear of judgment in its hand, and a Bible appeared in front of it. Angelic hymns appeared in the void in all directions, as if countless angels were singing, resonating with the origin of the universe. The judgment spear erupted with a boundless white light, and the power of the law of karma, the law of death, and the law of judgment emerged from the depths of the spear. Vaguely, Xiaoping sensed that his soul had been instantly locked onto by the judgment spear. Even if he walked to the ends of the universe, to the ends of the earth, he would not be able to escape the judgment of the judgment spear. This was because the judgment spear was attacking along the karma lines. As long as the judgment spear locked onto his soul, it would definitely hit. This was the power of the law of karma of the judgment spear. Boom! At the next second, Archangel Ludwig made his move. The judgment spear in his hand was thrown out just like that, and it seemed to turn into a scorching white light, merging into the void of the universe. It was like a javelin, blasting toward Xiaoping at a speed that surpassed hundreds or even thousands of times the speed of light. It followed the karma lines directly, wanting to penetrate Xiaoping's soul and body and nail him to death in the universe's vacuum. The Lord says that I will shoot you and make you kneel before the Lord to repent. Your soul will suffer eternal torture and suffering, and it will only end when the universe ends. Archangel Helmet was expressionless. It was as if he had abandoned all his emotions at that moment, leaving only absolute rationality. His spirit, energy, and spirit were highly concentrated, and he forgot about everything else. He held the Yang Divine Bow in his hand, knocked an arrow, and aimed it at Xiaoping. At that moment, Xiaoping felt that the threat of the Yang Divine Bow was even greater than the previous two Peerless Sage artifacts. He felt his hair stand on end, and no matter where he hid, he would definitely be shot. Swoosh! At the next second, Archangel Helmet made his move. He knocked an arrow, and a golden arrow was instantly shot out. It seemed to turn into a beam of golden light, merging into the void of the universe without a sound. A shocking killing intent immediately spread out from the depths of the void. This was no ordinary bow and arrow. It was the arrow of destiny, which contained the laws of destiny. As long as it was shot out, it would definitely hit the enemy, causing terrifying destruction. There were only 9 such arrows of destiny in the angel race. However, after so many years, 6 of them had been used, and only 3 were left. However, every single time it was used, a peerless expert would definitely fall, and it would cause a world-shaking change. Therefore, in order to kill Xiaoping, the angel race had actually brought out the arrow of destiny. One could imagine how much importance the angel race placed on Xiaoping. They had already completely treated Xiaoping as an invincible saint. The laws of death, karma, and destiny attacked at the same time, intertwining with one another. It was as if Xiaoping was in a situation where he would definitely die. Any saint facing such a situation, even if they were invincible saints, would probably die without a doubt. There are not many saints in the entire universe who could withstand such an attack from the angel race. It could be said that in order to kill Xiaoping, the angel race had really put in a lot of effort and used all sorts of methods. In order to kill me, they actually used so many treasures. The angel race really thinks highly of me. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a frightening gleam. He could feel waves of killing intent, and it was as if he was facing an unprecedented situation. He had never encountered such a situation in his entire life. This was an unprecedented crisis. He could feel the laws of death, karma, and destiny blasting toward him. No matter how he dodged, he would not be able to avoid this attack. This was an attack that would definitely hit him. Vaguely, he could feel the aura of death enveloping his entire body. It was as if he could foresee the situation where he would die. His body would be sliced into countless pieces by the world-slaying blade of light. His heart would be pierced by the spear of judgment, and his head would be nailed into the eternal vacuum of the universe by the arrow of destiny. This was a situation where he would definitely die.